Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. Today is Thursday, December 18th, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $ ORIONNWSF or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got the battle in Seattle, the Los Angeles Rams versus the Seattle Seahawks, and the best Thursday night game ever played. Let's get it. I can't wait to see what happens between the 11-3 Los Angeles Rams and the 11-3 Seattle Seahawks. Kickoff is going to be here in roughly 5 minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get settled in for Thursday night football for the battle in Seattle. Happy Thursday, everyone. On the left, arguably the top selections for MVP, Matthew Stafford, and on the right, possibly an X factor here today, and Kenneth Walker III. Can't wait to be able to see what we get out of Puka and JSN. We know Devontae Adams is out with the knee and the hamstring, so that means more opportunities for Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, and others. And again, should be a fantastic matchup from beginning to end. We're going to be shooting for 100 likes, 100 on the Dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. And as far as Seattle's losses, you know, they've only had 3 this year, right? They ended up losing by 4 points in week 1 to the Niners, 3 points in week 5 to my Buccaneers, and by 2 to the Rams in week 11. So again, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points. It's not like Seattle's gotten blown out all year. Both of these teams have got top offenses and defenses in the league. And again, something's got to give. We know Darnold does not typically play well against the Rams, but could this be a different day for the battle in Seattle here in 2025? We will find out. Bricks and joysticks in the building. What's good? Let's go M's. Can't wait. First game for spring training is February 20th. I don't know if that's going to be televised or not, but if it is, I will start doing some spring training games for the Seattle Mariners as soon as they become available. Hope everyone is having a fantastic Thursday. We're going to have a nice busy slate, you know, as far as the NFL, the college football playoffs on Friday and Saturday, Oklahoma and Alabama tomorrow, JMU and Oregon on Saturday, with some NFL coverage as well, with a couple NFL games sprinkled in, which is awesome. And then we end up having Sunday night football and Monday night football, which is going to consist in Sunday night between the Patriots and the Ravens. And then we're going to have the Colts and Niners on Monday night. So we're going to be streaming for the next 5 days straight. And it looks like it's going to be very, very exciting, not only with the NFL as we're into December, the back end, where we really find out who is a contender and who is a pretender. And then we also find out in the college football playoff, you know, what teams are worthy to be champion in college football for the Natty. Right now, it looks like Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, and Georgia have to be the favorites. And we'll wait and find out if those teams can find a way to continue their dreams. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that Dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. And it wouldn't really be that shocking, you know, if we see these two teams play each other in the NFC Championship game, if they were to line up in the bracket and they were able to keep winning. You know, I could definitely see either one of these teams representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. That's how good both of these teams are. The crazy thing is the Niners are still kind of in the mix, you know, and again, for a team that has a no-name defense, you know, that doesn't have Dre Greenlaw, doesn't have Talanoa Hufanga, they both went to Denver. You had injuries to Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. And even though we know the Rams and Seahawks are the top dogs in the NFC, and then you got a few other teams like the Eagles and others that are still in the mix. Right now, I think the most intriguing teams that aren't at the top might be the 49ers and the Bears. You just don't really know what you're going to get out of those teams week in and week out, but they're very well coached. And if you do have a good head coach or a good OC, a good offensive coordinator or a good defensive coordinator, or if you're the Niners and you're blessed with both, with Saleh on the defense and obviously Kyle Shanahan on the offense, you can make a team that's beat up with injuries still hang around. And it's going to be definitely very, very exciting, not only here today. Seattle is favored by 1.5. And JSN, he's got to get in the end zone here today if Seattle is going to win. The Rams, definitely have Seattle's number as of late. Very well balanced, but with no Devontae Adams, that should help. But that doesn't mean guys like Tutu Atwell and others may end up stepping up. Cooper Kupp going against his former team. Could they end up giving him the ball a little bit more in the revenge game? It's going to be very interesting to see. And it's not that both of these teams are amazing at offense. Both of these teams are amazing at defense as well. And that's really what's, separated the Seahawks from previous years. They improved the O-line, they improved the defense, they improved the scheme, and it shows. And even though this team may be a year or two early, they're definitely taking advantage of everything that they got with an 11-3 record, 5-2 at home, 11-3 record, 5-2 on the road for the Rams. It's as even as it possibly can be. Showtime in the building. What's good? Andrea in the building. What's good? That's going to be a sweet game. I'm jealous. And hopefully Oregon beats JMU, which I assume they will. And then that Texas Tech game at 9 a.m. will be challenging, to say the least. TJ in the building. What's good? Let's go. Daniel in the building. What's good? And this is the one that we've been waiting for. 37 TD passes, leads the NFL. 11 wins as a starter, tied second most in his career, 12 in 2021. And again, it really does help when you have consistent quarterback play, which they have had with Matthew Stafford on the Rams and Sam Darnold there on the Hawks. Myers kicked 64 yards, and Jordan Whittington there with a decent return of 28 yards, first down and 10 at the Rams 29. Man in motion. Puka. They decide to hand it off to Kyron Williams. Trips over himself. And a nice gang tackle there by the Hawks. And obviously Seattle's uniforms are mimicking Oregon's, obviously with the way that the numbers and the way the helmet looks. And, every once in a while you will see the influence on Oregon football in the NFL. And I know some Hawk fans love those jerseys. Some do not like them at all. But again, it's definitely a very unique look. And we'll see what we end up getting as the game progresses. Nice 8-yard run by Kyron Williams up the middle. Bryant and Love with the tackle, 2nd down and 2 at the Rams 37. Handoff there to Kyron again, bouncing off a defender, but not the other two after that. Nice tackle there by the Hawks. And both of these teams are very disciplined on offense and defense. I don't know how high scoring of a game this is going to be, but there's a lot on the line, including the 49ers waiting and watching and deciding, what is going to be the best angle for them at the end of the year. And the crazy thing is, on certain types of scenarios, the Niners still have a chance to be the number 1 seed, depending on how this game plays out and the rest of the regular season games. That is a wild thing to say. Stafford, nice slant and complete. Intended receiver was Puka Nacua. And I don't know why they would throw it on, 3rd down and 1 when you have Kyron Williams. I mean, you could have ran a QB sneak with Stafford unless you were trying to get them, a little bit on edge there. And normally that's a throw that Puka will catch, 99% of the time. Now it's 4th down and 1 at the Rams 38. A lot of energy there in Seattle. You can feel it. They get a QB sneak here. It's almost an automatic 1st down, you would assume. But they decide to hand it off. Ballsy move there and handing it off to Kyron Williams. 1st down, Rams. And especially when it's 4th down and 1 and you got an amazing D-line like Seattle this season, and then you're 5 yards back by the time you get the football. And again, very ballsy play there by Sean McVay, but Sean McVay is one of the best play callers in the game, and great blocking up front. And they were able to get a 3-yard run with Kyron Williams. DeMarcus Lawrence with the tackle. 1st down, Ramley. 1st down and 10, man in motion. Stafford hands off, and they're going heavy to Kyron, and that's what they want to do. Run the football a lot, and then, see if you will cheat up with the safeties, and then eventually one-on-one over the top and single coverage is what they're going to be looking for with Puka and others, and we will see how that plays out. Defenses are going to have to be disciplined. Kyron Williams, 7-yard run. Kobe Bryant, the safety, with the tackle. 2nd down and 3 at the Rams 48. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. And Kyron Williams with another run there up the middle. 1st down, Rams. Move the chains. And again, if they can keep exploiting the run, and again, 4-yard run up the middle, Derek Hall, that time the linebacker for the Hawks with the tackle. 1st down and 10 at the Seattle 48. Because if you can run the ball at will, there is nothing more demoralizing, to a defense when you can not stop the run, when you know the run is coming more than likely. Play action, Stafford, pump fake. He says, I'm old, but I'll slide and run. He gains a couple there. Reflect in the building. What's good? $3 holla. Appreciate you. Stacks. Racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. We're at 3:97 to go on the dono train. The battle in Seattle, the most anticipated Thursday night matchup of the year. Stafford scrambles for 4. Ernest Jones, the 4th with the tackle. 2nd down and 6 at the Seattle 44. And again, no Devontae Adams with the knee and the hamstring, but they have other options they can go to, like Tutu Atwell and others. But again, you can definitely see the McVay, strategy early on. Pound the rock, and see if you can get 4 to 10 yards, on each, pretty much carry or look. And so far, so good. Kyron with a 2-yard run. Hall and Mills with the tackle. And again, they want 3rd down and manageable, 3rd down and short. Same thing with Seattle. You don't want to be in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and long. You want to be in that 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 range, and it opens up the playbook even more. 3rd down and 4, shotgun set. Stafford, throw to the sideline. Big hit there. And I think they stopped him there. Ferguson with the catch, but Seattle with the good defense. And I assume that'll be 4th down and 1. Hey, I appreciate that. Just when we thought that, the flooding and the bad weather came to an end, it's starting to get really heavy, here for the next week in Oregon, and I assume they're in Washington as well. Stafford to Ferguson for 3 yards. Witherspoon with the tackle. 4th down and 1 at the Seattle 39. The Rams are not afraid of anyone, including their rivals in the Seattle Seahawks. 4th and inches. Handoff again. And that looks like they stopped him. I don't know if they're going to give him the spot. Based on the initial tackle, it looks like he's short. But we will find out if they're going to give him a good spot here or not. It's crazy. If you live next to a stream, a lake, or a river, any type of bend of water, you have a chance of your home floating away, depending on where you live in Washington or Oregon. Luckily, I don't live near a body of water, but, definitely the flooding took its toll. We had 50 to 60 mile an hour winds the last few nights, and a lot of trees have come down in a lot of the favorite parks that me and Paisley like to, kind of visit. And we're not talking about itty bitty branches. We're talking about branches falling down of trees that are like 50 to 100 feet tall, that if they landed on your head, you would be dead. So it's definitely been kind of crazy. I got to be a little bit more aware when I'm walking the pup. But again, crazy weather here in the Pacific Northwest. And let's look at this virtual measurement. He's got to be short. They got him short by a foot there. Judah in the building, what's good? Not JT in the building, what's good? And again, the Rams are, going to gamble, just like the Seahawks and the Niners in the NFC West. And, you can only go for it on 4th down so many times, before it comes back to catch you, right? And we know the Seattle defense has been good this year. They're much improved on the O-line, the D-line, the defense, and the whole scheme of things. The Rams have pretty much been good even after Aaron Donald left. And that is a credit to Sean McVay, the coaching staff, the scouting staff, and getting great players like Jared Verse, after, the Aaron Donald era. And even though they've had to let a few guys go, like Cooper Kupp to Seattle, they have plenty of other options at receiver and tight end and running back to fill in the gaps. So a great stop there by Seattle. And again, they've only had 3 losses this year, just like the Rams. They lost to the Niners week 1 by 4. They lost into the Buccaneers in week 5 by 3, and then they lost, obviously, to the Rams in week 11 by 2. So we're talking 17-13, 38-35, 21-19. So again, this Seattle team is probably about a year early. I don't think anyone anticipated, even Seahawks fans, that they would be 11-3. They maybe thought that, at best case scenario, maybe 11 or 12 wins total, for this season. That means barely any injuries. Darnold's playing well. JSN is beasting, and that's kind of what we ended up getting. But at this point, with a few games to go, there is still a chance to be able to get past that 12-win mark, especially if they win here today. Drive stalls for the Rams, going for it on 4th down 3 times in a row. They got it on the first 2. But again, at some point, you're going to have to mix up the strategy, and we will see what Seattle and Kenneth Walker III can do here on the thumb on the first drive. And they're going to mimic the same kind of game plan. You're not going to want to pass, on the Rams. Again, running on them with Jared Verse is not going to be easy as well. So again, what Kyron was able to do, Kenneth Walker III has that ability as well as Charbonnet. So I'm very interested to see what the play calling is going to be. But the winner of the battle up front, in the battle in Seattle, the line of scrimmage, whoever wins the line of scrimmage, plain and simple, is going to win this game. That's going to turn into sacks. It's going to turn into pressures. It's going to turn into fumbles and picks. And again, I don't know if we really anticipate this game being in the 30s. It kind of feels like it might be similar to that Week 11 matchup where it was 21-19. That kind of feels a similar type of score that we might end up getting in this game here today. First down and 10, man in motion. Darnold, play action bootleg. Very creative there on the first play. And a good positive yardage there. And Barner with the nice catch. And again, Sam has struggled against the Rams. No, it's one of those teams, regardless if he's on the Jets, the Vikings, or the Seahawks. The Rams are a tough team to play. And remember, they almost made it to the Super Bowl over the Eagles, if they just had a couple more plays in the fourth quarter. Again, this is a very, very competitive division, and the Niners are still in the mix as well. 8-yard pass from Darnold to Barner. Then they decided to bounce it outside to Kenneth Walker III on 2nd down and 2. And looks like they gave him the first down. First down, Hawks. Move the chains. The most anticipated Thursday night football game in 2025, and the best based off record that we've ever seen. We've never seen 2 11-3 teams on Thursday night football ever since they've introduced this format for Thursday night. First down and 10, little bootleg, goes back to the left side of the field. Good blockers downfield. Run, man, run, big man. There we go. Kenneth Walker III following his blockers. Great effort by the O-line. First down, Hawks. Move the chains. Oh, my. Yeah, only 3 losses are to the Niners week 1, the Buccaneers in week 5, and the Rams in week 11 by 4, 3, and 2. So the Hawks haven't been blown out all year. They've only lost by 4 points, 3 points, 2 points. So again, both of these teams could end up making the NFC Championship game. Both of these teams have a great chance of representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. And obviously the Hawks want payback for that 2-point loss in week 11. Nice 46-yard pass there from Darnold to Kenneth Walker. I put him on the thumb for a reason. I thought he would be the sleeper today. We know JSN is great, but after you get 6 field goals, right, with Jason Myers in a field goal party in the last game against the Colts, against, Phillip Rivers that's almost 80, we obviously know he's not that old, but again, not playing football professionally for 5 years and coming in, they almost beat the Hawks. So again, you never can really overestimate or underestimate anybody at any given moment. Darnold short middle, the cup for a 1-yard pass. Ford there with the tackle. 2nd and goal at the Rams 4. Darnold under center on 2nd and goal. Handoff up the middle. Break a set tackle and another touchdown. Hawks. There we go. Zach Charbonnet, and again, having a good 1-2 punch, not going to Walker every single moment. Obviously we know they have Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, but Corum, doesn't get very many looks. And to be able to have that change of pace back, sometimes that's exactly what you need to do in that position to be able to score a touchdown. Maybe they were anticipating Kenneth Walker III. You get good blocking up front by the O-line. You break a tackle. 4-yard touchdown run by Zach Charbonnet. Drink it up, and I see you. 6-0 Hawks. Great start. They didn't need to go for it on 4th down 3 times like the Rams did. And the extra point for Myers is up and good. And there's a good chance that we'll see JSN in the end zone here today as well. 7-0 Hawks. And again, you can feel the energy, right? Both teams are hyped up, but depending on who wins this game, if the Rams win, the Niners still have a path on being the 1 seed, which is the craziest thing ever, considering they have a no-name defense. They don't have Drake Greenlaw. They don't have Talanoa Hufanga. They're both on the Broncos. Bosa and Warner are out. They literally have nobody that's a name on defense, but Saleh has been coaching them up, and they've been playing well. And obviously, they're starting to get some of their offensive, skill position players back for the Niners. And again, we know the Rams and Seahawks are at the top. But again, we still can't count out the Niners and the Bears and the Eagles and the Lions and the Packers. And we don't really need to mention the Buccaneers or the Panthers. They're at the bottom of the barrel, kind of like the Steelers and Ravens, where somebody's going to make it. Realistically, I think it's going to be the Buccaneers and the Steelers. I think that the Panthers and the Ravens are going to fight like hell, but I think they're just going to barely miss it. But again, we still got a few weeks to go to determine if the Ravens and Panthers can do it or if the Steelers and Buccaneers are going to hold it down. But who is holding it down right now? Zach Charbonnet, 7-0 Hawks. Let's go. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. We're at 397 to go to hit that dono train. And then tomorrow, we're going to be doing Oklahoma and Alabama for the college football playoff. And I know not everyone is into either of those teams, but when it is, the college football playoff, there's only so many games that are left. That'll be the biggest thing going on tomorrow. So we'll end up doing that. We'll end up doing Oregon and JMU on Saturday. Sunday, we're going to do the Ravens and the Patriots for Sunday night. Should be a good one, especially if the Ravens are fighting for their lives, as well as a playoff berth. They're trying, but we know the Pats are going to be angry after losing to the Bills, and it's going to be an exciting way to be able to see how Drake May navigates that game. And then on Monday, we have an underrated matchup with the Colts and the Niners. And I think that actually is going to be a fun game to watch. I know Phillip Rivers is old, but I do think that one might actually surprise and be a decent game. So let's go, baby. And Myers kicks off. And Rivers with a decent return down to about the 23-24. But we're going to be busy for the next 5 days watching a lot of NFL and college football playoff. And again, we're getting into the last 3 weeks of the season, and then we're going to get into the NFL playoffs. And this is the best time of year. We're getting into the holiday season with Christmas and New Year's. You got the end of Stranger Things. Let alone a lot of other amazing shows coming in January and beyond. And on top of that, some amazing football on the college and the NFL ranks. 63 yards by Myers. Ronnie Rivers with a muffed catch goes 20 yards. And on 1st down and 10, little play action bootleg to Puka Nacua, lowers his shoulder, picks up about 7 or 8 yards there. And they're going to have to get Puka a lot of looks. 9-yard pass from Stafford to Puka. And Devin Witherspoon, the Hawk secondary stud there with the tackle. 2nd down and 1 at the Rams 33. Man in motion. Handoff up the middle. That's Blake Corum on 2nd down and 1. 1st down, Rams. Move the chains. Five-yard run there by Blake Corum, the Michigan product. Jones and Thomas with the tackle. Hey, 6 field goals for Jason Myers, and we know that Jason at times in the past has choked, in big moments, but this year definitely has been a little bit better. Still has had a few moments that have been a little sketchy, but anytime you can go 6 for 6 or something of that nature, that is big. Throw to the sideline, rumbling and a bumbling. First down, Rams. And the one thing the Rams feel like they always have is great skill position players, no matter who the quarterback is. They're going to have running backs, they're going to have wide receivers, and a plethora of tight ends. Stafford to Davis Allen, 27-yard pass, and I don't think the Seahawks had that in their playbook. First down and 10 at the Seattle 35. Stafford, hands off, and they're going to go to Blake Corum again. And takes about 5 Hawks to finally bring him down. And a couple yards there for Blake Corum. We got less than 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. The Rams had to go for it on 4th down 3 times in short yardage, got the first 2, and then ended up getting stuffed on that last opportunity. Seahawks, definitely feeling the energy from the crowd and getting a nice touchdown by Zach Charbonnet. 7-0 Hawks. Corum with that 5-yard run. Job and Mafe there with the tackle. Man in motion on 2nd down and 5 at the Seattle 30. Play action, bootleg. Seattle bringing pressure. Sidearm throw to Allen and incomplete. Stafford going back to, kind of a Patrick Mahomes sidearm throw. We would see Andrew Luck and a few others do that in the past. Sometimes you would see Brady, sometimes Manning. But again, you don't see too many, throwing sidearm throws. But that was the only throw that he was going to be able to have a good opportunity on. And Davis Allen, you got to be better. 3rd down and 5 at the Seattle 30. What happened to my hands? Davis Allen, you got to catch that. Audible at the line on 3rd down and 5, going under center to shotgun set. 3 wide receiver set. Hawks bring blitz, 1-on-1, and that's going to be incomplete. Job with some good coverage there. And Kanata Mumpfield, the intended receiver. 4th down and 5 at the Seattle 30. Sarah in the building, what's good? We figured you would be in here at some point. And the Rams have no fear going for it on 4th down 4 times already. And let's see if they can get Puka the football here. 4th down and 5. Looking in his direction. Wow! Look at the coverage on Puka by Job. And he still caught it. And we're talking about Job being like literally an inch away from Puka's body. Puka's hands are so strong, but there is a flag on the play. See if that's going to be defensive pass interference, but you couldn't have defended that play, any better besides the penalty, of course. Penalty is decline. First down, Rams. And, you have already assumed with Devontae Adams out that Puka's going to have to come up with big plays just like that. Look at the coverage, and obviously you get the penalty here, but look how close the coverage is. Unbelievable comeback to the football. And if you don't see Puka come back to the football, he doesn't get that catch. That was one of the best catches of the year that I've seen in short distance. That was beautiful. First down and 10 at the Seattle 24. And again, if he doesn't get that catch, Seattle probably gets the football and scores another touchdown just based off momentum or a long Jason Myers field goal. So again, McVay can, breathe a sigh of relief that Puka came up big there. First down and 10 at the Seattle 24. Stafford under center, one of the top MVP candidates here. Play action, bootleg, being chased from behind, wide open. First down, Rams. And you're seeing definitely a lot of play action in bootleg. Mumpfield with the catch. And again, they got guys like Tutu Atwell, and that wasn't really a big name. And then obviously Stafford made those guys bigger names. And now you're seeing guys like Allen and Mumpfield that are going to have to be factors if the Rams are going to win with no Devontae Adams. First and goal at the Seattle 5, and we know they love going to the tight ends when they get deep into the red zone. Man in motion, handoff up the middle. And again, they're definitely going to try, to go with Blake Corum as well as Kyron Williams when they get this close. That's going to be the number one thing, that Seattle's defense is going to look for. But again, if you want to be able to, be one step ahead, at some point, you're going to have to run that play action or bootleg and try to find one of those tight ends or one of the lower name players. Puka's going to have the best hands, obviously, on the offense. There's no doubt about that. But they do have other options that could potentially step up. 2nd and goal at the Seattle 5. Man in motion, Puka, Stafford, hands off, Corum bouncing it to the outside. No, not today. Witherspoon and company are there. 3rd down and goal at the Seattle 6. And we'll see if Seattle brings blitz here. All right, 3rd and goal at the Seattle 6. Let's see where Stafford goes. 5 wide receiver set, empty back. He's open and right at the 1 yard line. Great tackle there by Job and company. And that's going to be 4th and goal. And this will be interesting to see what Sean McVay decides to do. If you go for a QB sneak with Stafford, you'll score. And again, if you're going to end up handing it off to Kyron and he's 5 yards back, they got 1 first down that way. But do you really want to play around with Seattle? Yeah, you ended up winning the Week 11 matchup by 2, 21-19. But if you want to be the number 1 seed, you can't be calling plays like you're Chip Kelly the whole game. Again, you can do it situationally. And again, I understand that, this is definitely a rivalry, but, sometimes you're going to want to take the field goal. But at this point, they definitely have been very overly aggressive. Great game here early on. The battle in Seattle, 7-0 Hawks. And you end up having a big play by Kenneth Walker that led to a Zach Charbonnet 4-yard rush. Jason Myers' extra point is up and good. We've seen the Rams go up for 4th down on their first drive 3 times. They got it, first down on the first 2 on 4th down and got stuffed on the 3rd attempt. And now they're going to have their 4th attempt. And we will see if they end up, running a QB sneak with Stafford. You can run a tush push. You would assume you would be able to get in that way, but I don't think I would be handing it off to Corum or Kyron in this situation. I guess, QB sneak 1. I guess Kyron would be my second option. And again, if they end up bringing a blitz, I don't know if I would really want to be throwing the football at 4th and goal at the 1. But if you got a guy like Puka, that is someone that could come down with it. I don't know if I would really want to do a back shoulder fade. Maybe a slant or a crossing route would be more sustainable at 4th and goal at the 1. But we will see here in a moment. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs, 87 subs to 23,400. Let's get it, baby. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. We gained 1 sub since the last commercial break, 86 to get to 23,400. Let's go. We'll be doing Alabama, Oklahoma tomorrow for the college football playoff, Oregon and JMU, but we also will be, keeping tabs on the NFL matchups on Saturday. We have 2 of them. And then obviously on Sunday, a full slate. We'll be doing the Ravens going against the Patriots for Sunday Night Football, and then Colts and Niners on Monday night. And I assume Oklahoma will win tomorrow after Alabama only put up 7 in the SEC championship game against Georgia. But you never know. It's definitely an even matchup, but I assume Oklahoma will win, but you never know. And they decide to play action. Stafford, back of the end zone. Woo, big hit. He hangs on to it. Touchdown, Rams. And again, they love to be able to go to certain types of tight ends and wide receivers. A very ballsy, gutsy play there. Ferguson comes down, but there's a flag on the play, and it's coming back. Oh, my. Oh, my. Big self-inflicted wound. Sean McVay cannot believe it. And now you got to take the points. You got to take the field goal now. And that's what they're going to do. Great execution on the play action, though. Obviously I would have rather seen a Stafford, even though he's old, with the QB sneak or the tush push. I think he would have scored there. And again, the anticipation of going to Kyron, on 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3 often, definitely baited the Hawks. But good execution besides obviously the aftermath with the penalty. Ineligible downfield pass. And when the guard goes a little bit too far, that's heartbreaking. And now we're going to have a field goal attempt. Should be automatic, you would assume. Field goal is up and right down the middle, and it's good. 7-3 Hawks. And again, both of these teams are very good at offense and defense. They both have the best plus minus in the league. And again, when you're looking at teams that will end up making a deep run to make a Super Bowl run, it's typically teams that are well-rounded. Offense, defense, and special teams. Both of these teams fit that category. And then below them, we will see. What are you going to get out of the Eagles? What are we going to get out of the Niners and the Bears? What are we going to get out of the Lions and Packers? Don't expect anything really from the Panthers or the Buccaneers, but somebody's got to make it from the NFC South. And same thing goes in the AFC. You got the Broncos and the Bills, and then you got the Patriots, and then you got the teams below them like the Texans, the Jags, and the Chargers. And then someone's got to win between the Steelers and the Ravens. So, even though, it feels like, it was very top heavy for the AFC, but within the last few weeks, they're starting to catch up, especially with 10 wins, from the Chargers, 10 wins plus out of the Jags, and the Texans are really starting to play some good ball at this time of year as well. 7-3 Hawks. And the Rams kick off. And that's going to be a kneel down there. And let's see what Sam Darnold can do here. Toby in the building. What's good? And Ethan Evans with a 65-yard kick, touchback to the 35. And we know Sam Darnold, usually dominates, certain types of opponents. But if there is a kryptonite to Sam Darnold, it is the Rams. He definitely has not figured them out, whether that have been him on the Jets, him on the Vikings last year, or this year with Seattle. And again, you got, a good skill position, player outlet with what you have available. No Charles Cross. So obviously having a newbie in there against Jared Verse, that could end up being the difference. Whoever wins the line of scrimmage is going to win this game. Darnold, shotgun set, handoff up the middle. And I am impressed with Seattle's O-line early on, opening up big holes for Kenneth Walker III and Zach Charbonnet. 29-50. Let's get there, baby. The most anticipated Thursday night game in 2025, the battle in Seattle. And remember, the Hawks only lost by 2 in Week 11, 21-19, so they're looking for payback. 8-yard run there by Zach Charbonnet, and I like the back and forth with what we're getting here from the OC. Darnold, pump fake. What happened to my hands? We've seen a drop by a Ram and a drop by a Hawk. And again, it may not be the top guy, but guys like A.J. Barner, if you want to be able to get the ball again, you got to make that grab. You got to help your quarterback out. You don't want him to see ghosts like he did in New York when he was on the Jets. We want to see the Darnold that was on the Vikings and the Hawks this year. 3rd down and 2 at the Seattle 43. Absolutely. I think that actually was one of the better, offensive line picks that organization has drafted in quite some time. I mean, just imagine if they would have been able to address the offensive line in the secondary after the Legion of Boom. It wouldn't have taken this long to get to this point. And Darnold incomplete to JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Good coverage there. And that's going to be 4th down and 2 at the Seattle 43. Also, besides the line of scrimmage, offensive line, defensive line, depending on who wins the matchup. Also, what's going to be a big determining factor is the play calling, and not only just the execution, but what are we calling? Are we audibling at the line? And again, you can't force feed, certain superstars. You can't just throw it to Puka, every down. Same thing with JSN. You got to let the game come to you. And then the big play will come on its own. And Seattle with the punt. And we're definitely pacing for like a 24-20 kind of game, which is going to be exactly what we want to see. Great defense, but then also a little bit of scoring, from the offense and potentially the special teams. Who knows? Maybe even the defense. We could end up getting a pick six, on Darnold, pick six on Stafford, or maybe even a fumble for a touchdown. Could be possible. Michael Dixon with a 45-yard punt. Xavier Smith with a short return there. Oh, just fair caught. First down and 10 at the Rams 12. We got less than a minute to go in the first quarter. 7-3 Seattle. Yeah, it's sad that the Jags and Broncos are not getting the proper love, for that particular matchup. I'm going to watch that game from beginning to end. And I know, if you're an NFC fan, you probably don't give a shit about the Jags or Broncos that much. And, more so the Jags. People will watch the Broncos because they're one of the top dogs, but the Jags and the Chargers and the Texans have started to gain a little bit of momentum. And, for a conference that was more dominant, the NFC this year, the AFC is caught up, considering what the Jags have as a record, the Chargers, as well as the Houston Texans. So, it doesn't really feel like it's as lopsided as it was maybe about a month and a half ago. AFC is caught up, and, I'm definitely going to watch that, and that'll be a huge game for the Jags if they can pull it off. Not only for their confidence, but also moving forward, that if they end up matching up, to the Broncos, the Bills, or the Patriots, can they beat, one of the top three, being one of the, three below them? The Chargers, the Jags, and the Texans are going to be huge underdogs, regardless on who they play. But if they continue to keep playing the way they've been playing within the last month or so, there's a possibility that maybe one of those three teams, could end up having an upset. Right now, I think I like the Texans the most between the Texans, Jags, and the Chargers, just based on the Texan defense with Danielle Hunter and obviously, what you have there on the opposite side, Roll Tide. And anytime you can end up having Will Anderson Jr. Roll Tide or Danielle Hunter, and they can get you 10 sacks or more each, that definitely evens out the playing field on the offenses that they're going against. We don't really know what you're going to get out of CJ Stroud week in and week out. But if there was a team that you could add, to the top three, right, with the Broncos, Bills, and Patriots, you might go Texans at 4, but then I think the Jags are right there with them. First down and 10 at the Rams 12. Stafford steps up in the pocket, wide open, Puka, open field, he might be gone, the 50, the 40, and they catch up from behind. First down, Rams. Move the chains. That was beautiful. Puka, great route runner, great hands, great speed, and he's got great physicality. The body shape, to be able to have a big upper body and a big lower body. Big, strong legs, big, strong upper body and chest that that they're going to be able to, bounce off certain guys. A wide receiver quarterback dream for Sean McVay. 54-yard pass from Stafford to Puka, and Love with the tackle. Remember, no Devontae Adams, so the others are going to have to step up as well. And Kyron Williams with a short gain there, and the clock winds down to 0. End of the first quarter in a great one. 7-3 Hawks. How's everybody doing in fantasy? We haven't got a chance to talk about that. How are you guys doing? What round are you guys in? Are you guys eliminated? Are you guys in the playoffs? Do you guys have a good chance to, get to the championship game? Hopefully everyone has been doing well. And, this is the first year in maybe about 15 or 20 that I've taken it off. And, it definitely has rejuvenated, me as a fan. Unfortunately, all the injuries for the Buccaneers hasn't made it, as easy for me as I would have wanted, but you still have a chance to be able to get into the dance, and that's all you can ask for. 10-4, awesome. How many man-woman league are you in? Is it 10-man or is it higher? And we got second down and 8 at the Seattle 32 when we come back from the commercial break. You're in the semis. And if you win this week, and what are your chances of winning? Do you feel pretty good with the players that you have, or are you the underdog? 10 man woman league. And you're 10-4. Congratulations. And I know, there was times in our league, where you were at the bottom. And anytime you're at the bottom, it's not fun. Whether you drafted wrong or you had injuries or both. Hell, I was right there with you, for one of those years. So, anytime you end up making mistakes, either in the draft or you just have bad luck with injuries, it stinks. I'm so happy for you. 10-4. Let's go. That's awesome. You're done? 134.6, and you lost by 0.4. Brutal. What place are you going to end up finishing in? Is this the family league that you're in? Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. But on Saturday, we got the Eagles and the Commanders at 2. I will definitely watch a little bit of that. And then we got the Packers and the Bears. So again, if Oregon and JMU weren't playing, obviously that would be the stream that we would do on Saturday. And, again, Packers and Bears should be a good one in Chicago. And again, if they run the football and play good defense like they did against the Eagles right after that Thanksgiving period, they could end up winning that game as well. And again, we know that Caleb still has a long ways to go, but Ben Johnson has done a great job with that team in 2025. Sarah with a $1 holla. Appreciate you. Stacks. Racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you. $1 holla on the Dono train. We're at 4:96 to go. Stafford going deep. He's got a man and just overthrows Puka Nacua on 2nd down and 8 at the Seattle 32. If that was just one step, a little bit, with the momentum there, if he had one more step, that would have ended up being a touchdown. Reflect with another 3-er. Appreciate you. Stacks. Racks with the little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Thank you so much. Every dollar counts. We're at 7:93 to go on the Dono train. Starting to get a little bit of rain, which definitely felt in Oregon and Washington lately. Nice pass. Beautiful. And Whittington there with the catch. First down, Rams. And again, the Rams are one of those teams, that you can literally put almost anybody on the roster on offense and they're going to produce. Same thing with the Niners. When you have good coaching, with McVay and Shanahan, it's pretty much plug and play anybody at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Could be a guy off the street. And as long as your quarterback and O-line have time, they're going to be able to get the ball close to you. And it's just up to you to squeeze the fingers and hands and come up with the catch. 8 for 12 with 142 yards for Stafford. First down and 10, handoff. Kyron with a little cutback on the counter and gains a couple there. And after that, Stafford to Whittington, 19-yard pass. And we got Dodson with an ankle. Uh-oh. That's huge. That is huge. And especially with Charles Cross being out on the other side. Again, we're going to have to watch these injuries on the O-line for the Rams and the Hawks. And, for every position that gets banged up, that's going to be an opening. 2nd down and 5 at the Seattle 8. Rams are threatening. Man in motion. Handoff up the middle. Kyron. And runs into a Hawk and goes right down. 3rd down and short. A 3-yard run there by Kyron, Witherspoon, and Thomas with the tackle for the Hawks. And the rain does not faze us in Oregon and Washington one bit. No umbrellas needed. 3rd down and 2. Stafford under center. Man in motion. Play action. Bootleg. He's open. And the throw is low. And even if he would have caught it, he wouldn't have made the first down. And that's going to be now 4th down and 2. Do the Rams go for it or do they take the points? Not JT with a fiver. Appreciate you. For the dream, brother. For the dream. Appreciate that. And here we go. 4th down and 2. The Rams have gone for it on 4th down 6-7 times already. And we have 12 minutes to go in the second quarter. I mean, I don't know if I've seen a Ram offense be this gutsy with McVay ever. You know, going for it on 4th down a couple times, but I definitely feel it's because they are going against the Hawks. And that's why they're doing it. They're trying to prove a point. But again, you can only go for it on 4th down so many times before it backfires. And now we got to delay a game, and you can't go for it on 4th and 7. Bring out the field goal unit. And so far, Seattle getting touchdowns, holding the Rams to field goals. That's how you win. That's how you win. You hold them to field goals. You know the Rams are going to eventually get one with Kyron, Stafford, or Puka, or one of the no-name tight ends or lower-name receivers. But again, to be able to hold them being so aggressive and only getting 2 field goals, absolutely phenomenal job by the Hawks up to this point. 28-yard field goal attempt. Kick is up. And right down the middle. And good. 7-6 Hawks. Let's go. Not JT with a fiver. He says, for the dream, baby. For the dream. You know it. Stacks. Racks. With a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you. Every dollar counts. On the Dono train. You know, whether it's, you know, paying for the internet bill, paying for the streaming fee, you know, buying dog food for my pup, or anything that I need to get for her, you know, just the basic stuff. So that way we can continue this dream for the rest of my life. 12:45 left in the second quarter. 7-6 Hawks, baby. And if there's anything you guys want to do photo-wise, reflect, Sarah, reflect, and not JT, let me know. And I got you. I can wait till halftime if you'd like. Or we can do it in between commercial breaks. Or if it doesn't, you know, really, is a need for you, then, you know, it's totally optional. Harrison Mavis there with the field goal. 7-6 Seattle. And I'm ready for a JSN touchdown. I know some of you are probably waiting for that as well. I would love to see Puka and JSN both get into the end zone before this game is over. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. A fucking legend. 86 subs to go to 23,400 in the battle in Seattle. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, hey, please do. Help us get to 100 likes. 100 on that Dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Good game here so far. Zach Charbonnet with a 4-yard rush. Jason Myers with the extra point after having a field goal party and making 6 field goals against the Colts last weekend. Harrison Mevis, 23-yarder. Harrison Mevis, 28-yarder. 7-6 Seattle. And, you know, it feels like if Seattle keeps playing, you know, the safe approach, you know, they're going to win this game, you know, instead of kind of going for it and being ballsy and risky. You know, again, I'm a little shocked how overly aggressive the Rams have been, you know, but again, they have the head coach to do it. You know, they have the play caller to do it. But again, eventually, if you start leaving points, you know, on the board and you end up going for it and not getting it, where like if you go for it on 4th and 1 and you get nothing and no field goal points, you know, that could end up being the difference. Because remember, the final score, you know, in week 11 was 21-19. It's 7-6 now. There's a very good chance this game is going to end between 3 points or less. Very high possibility. So I think the maximum amount of points that the winner would win by would probably only be like 7 to 10. And that's only if there's something big that happens in the second half, like a pick 6 or a fumble for a touchdown. If we don't get that big play, then, you know, it probably will end up being by, you know, you would assume 3 or 4 points or less. At least that's how it's kind of pacing at this point. Ethan Evans, 65-yarder, touchback to the Seattle 35. And let's see if Sam Darnold can move this football. Oh, and the offensive line jumped and self-inflicted wounds. You can't have that, Seattle. I got you. Bradford with the false start. And again, we do have some injuries on the O-line to both teams. So again, no Charles Cross. So again, Jared Verse will take advantage. And Anthony Bradford, the guard, false start. You can't do that, Anthony. Fantastic matchup. Been waiting on this one for weeks. First down and 15. JSN in motion. Shotgun set. Darnold, pressure up the middle, avoids a sack lunch and decides, hey, I just got to run, and ends up leaping forward and gaining only a couple. Otherwise, if he would have just stayed in the pocket, that would have been an easy sack lunch for Jared Verse and company. 1 yard run there from Sam Darnold. Jared Verse all over him. 67% completion percentage for Darnold. It's a career high. 22 touchdowns and 11 picks. But again, remember the last time that he did play the Rams. How many picks did he have? It's a lot. He won't have that today, though. They'll run the football, if needed, more in the second half. Second down and 14. Stafford. No. Darnold. He says, I can run like Stafford. Apparently not. Gets chased down. And Landman and company with the tackle. And again, we know Stafford and Darnold aren't the fastest out there. And a big sack lunch there from Nate Landman. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Third down and 15 at the Seattle 30. And again, for the team that's going to win this, it's going to be the line of scrimmage. You got to have 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, not 3rd and fucking a billion. That's not going to be ideal unless you're lucky enough to get it to JSN for 15 plus yards or more. 4 wide receiver set. Kenneth Walker III in motion. They go for a screen on 3rd and 15. 2 blockers downfield, but that's not going to get you a first down. Too conservative. Come on, Seattle. And now it ends up being 4th down. I feel like the play calling is definitely, early in the first quarter, it was, Seattle. But in the second quarter, it's looking like Rams. And again, play calling is everything. Running a screen pass with 2 blockers downfield on, 3rd and 15. What were you going to get at the most? 10? I would have rather seen a deep route to JSN and try to, draw a flag or make a deep, big play with a receiver that is the best in the game this year. Devontae Adams at one point had the most touchdowns. JSN has the most yards. Use them. Seahawks with the punt. Dodges 1 tackle and another. Picks up a block. Another block. No flags. There was 1 block there that looked close to being blocking in the back, but I don't see any yellow on the field. 10:24 left in the second quarter, 7-6 Seattle. And we definitely got a lot of rain, and we got a lot of homes being damaged in Oregon and Washington. And, hopefully we'll be able to get back to some good spring, summer weather that not JT wants. And that looks pretty beautiful. I haven't decided yet if we're going to be going on the 4th of July, against the Blue Jays, since tickets were so expensive. That's been kind of our tradition for me and Justin, my best friend, to go, to at least 1 or 2 Mariner games a season. Of course, I'm going to try to do every single game besides the maybe 1 game that I go to. But, every seat that was between row 1 and row 20 was already over 200. And that was when the tickets first were released. So a lot of Blue Jay fans, a lot of Mariner fans, they want that bucket hat that's going to come with the giveaway. And again, if we're going to go to 1 game a year, I don't know if I really want to sit, 40 rows back, if we're going to be making a 3-hour, car drive, up there. So, there might be, another opportunity for us to go to a bobblehead game, or something maybe closer to our birthdays in the end of April, beginning of May. Michael Dixon with a 56-yard punt. Xavier Smith with a 31-yard return. First down and 10 at the Rams 38. Remaining schedule, Falcons and Cardinals. Rams should win both of those. Seahawks got Panthers, Niners, which will be challenging. And then the Niners got the Colts, Bears, and Seahawks, which will be challenging in every single one of those games. And even though the Colts would be the easiest out of those last three for the Niners, you just don't really know what version of San Fran you're going to get. But, you might be able to beat the Colts, but those last two are going to be tough. Stafford, hands off. And a nice run there by Kyron Williams. Nope, Blake Corum with the run. And they're doing the same type of thing with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker III. You're seeing both guys get quite a few opportunities here early. 9-yard run by Blake Corum. Thomas and Kobe Bryant with the tackle. Second down and 1 at the Rams 47. Handoff up the middle. Yeah, I got a few of those too. I gave a couple away to my best friend Justin a couple days ago, believe it or not. So the Upper Deck Ichiro bobblehead that comes with the card, they have 3 versions of it: white jersey, gray jersey, and blue jersey. Which one do you have? I assume that's the one that you have. Unless you have one that's like a giveaway from the Mariners, or if it's like a FOCO bobblehead, but I assume the Upper Deck one is the one that you have. I have a couple Upper Deck loose and carded as well. Handoff up the middle. And Blake Corum with a 4-yard run. Thomas and Hall there with the tackle. First down and 10 for the Rams. 3-yard run up the middle there. Reed and Amanawari with the tackle. They're going very heavy with Blake Corum here. Second down and 7 at the Seattle 46. Play action and little check down. And there's Kyron. Nice shoestring tackle there by the Hawks. Yeah, and again, on that return, it definitely looked like there was a block in the back, or very close to being a block in the back, but there was no review and there was no, flag that came out. I would have liked a review on that, but you know how that goes. Stafford to Kyron Williams with that 5-yard pass. Third down and 2 at the Seattle 41. You got to go dig it up, man. You got to look it up. You got to see if it's the white jersey, the gray one, or the blue one. I mean, they're all going to be, somewhat valuable, depending on the condition. I would assume, one of them or, 2 of them might be worth slightly more if it's the rare version of it. So I think the gray one might be the rarest one, but I'm not too sure. I'd have to double check and look at all mine. 4-yard run there by Kyron Williams. First down, Ramley. Move the chains. First down and 10 at the Seattle 37. Stafford with an audible at the line. Handoff up the middle. Nice counter. And close to the first down marker. And I wonder if Kyron Williams is injured, because again, there we go. I say they're definitely splitting the carries in a particular way. It's like almost, it feels like Kyron's on some kind of like limited snap count, but they're going to Kyron, like every third carry and whatnot. Corum is getting a majority of the looks, but hell, it's like if Blake Corum's getting 9 yards, per carry on the last couple, you might as well go with the hot hand, but they're going back and forth, just like they do with the Hawks, with Kenneth Walker III and Zach Charbonnet. Stafford, handoff, bouncing it to the outside. And Blake Corum is there. First down, Rams. And Corum is going to be the more like short yard back. Kyron, can run from the 20 to the 20. Both are going to be touchdown machines if you give them the opportunities. But this is probably, a game where Corum is getting fed a little bit more than normal. in this particular matchup against Seattle, maybe to throw them off a little bit. Audible at the line, shotgun set, 4 wide receiver set with 1 running back there next to Stafford. Shotgun set. Hawks only bring 4. Stafford, check down. And Kyren Williams is there. And we're pacing for a 21-19 game, just like we had in Week 11 where the Rams won that one. 7-6 Seattle. And even though it's been a defensive battle in Seattle, very entertaining because when that big touchdown by either Puka or JSN happens in the second half, that could end up being the deciding factor. Second down and 4 after that pass from Stafford to Kyren. Stafford looking wide open. First down, Rams. Move the chains. And if you're Seattle here, you're trying to hold to a field goal. So it's 7-9 if they end up making it. And then it'll give you a few minutes to try to run a 2-minute drill and to get a field goal by Myers or a touchdown yourself. Stafford to Mumpfield. First and goal at the Seattle 8. And again, Sean McVay, like Kyle Shanahan, plug and play. You put anybody at wide receiver, tight end, or running back, you're going to get yards. 11 for 16, 164 yards for Stafford. One of the front runners for the MVP in 2025. A rebirth in his career for the Rams. Stafford, hands off. Good blocking up front. Breaks 1 tackle and launches forward. Gain of a couple there by Kyren Williams. 5-yard run. Ernest Jones, the 4th with the tackle. Linebacker for the Hawks. Second down and goal at the Seattle 3. 0 for 2 in the red zone for touchdowns. Can they get in the end zone here? Second and goal at the Seattle 3. Puka in motion. Stafford, play action, looking for Puka. He's open. Touchdown, Hawks. And they don't go to Puka. They go to Ferguson. Both were open, and Ferguson scores. Touchdown, Ramley. Terrence Ferguson. I mean, they could have went to either one. That was a great play call there by Sean McVay. The throw to Puka would have been much harder. It would have been, in between 2 defenders, but I'm pretty sure Puka would have been able to come up with it. But Ferguson was wide open. Stafford makes the safe throw instead of forcing it to Puka and gets rewarded with the cutting. Great job. Extra point is up by Mevis, and it is up and good. All right, Hawks, you got plenty of time. 13-7. You can make it 14-13 at half if you can just come up with some good plays here in the second quarter. Upper deck one with the white jersey. Nice. I got a loose version and a carded version here with me as well. It actually bobbles really well. The base is plastic, on the bottom. But as far as like the actual player head, it bobbles better than some of even the Mariner giveaway ones that I've gotten from Seattle. So that's awesome. (13-7) Rams, and Seattle will have 3:43 here in the second quarter to get a field goal to make it 13-10, or to be able to get a touchdown to make it 14-13. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Happy birthday, Cooper. Hopefully they'll be able to come up with someone, within the organization and they can hire. Oregon is going to be losing their OC and their DC, but I'm not worried one bit. We've already kind of, promoted from within, and they're going to stay with Oregon, and Dan Lanning through the run. not like Lane Kiffin and just bouncing and, not caring about, that particular school. And, I like our chances against JMU, even though we might start a little slow and then we'll tear it up in the second half. I think the Texas Tech game will be very challenging because it'll be on at 9 a.m. if we beat JMU. Indiana and Oregon will be must-see TV, and I think that we will have a chance, even though they are very, very good. And then obviously, if we can get past Indiana, then you're playing against the Buckeyes of Ohio State or Georgia in the Natties. So, we got a quote-unquote kind of an easy path until we get to Indiana. But again, you're still going to have to go against the two best teams in the world if you're going to want to be champion. And again, right now, it feels like there's 4 teams that could actually win it all. Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, Georgia. I don't think there's any other team that I feel confident that could win it all. It kind of feels like those are the 4 teams that have the best shot. I don't think there's a 5th team, and unless we end up having some crazy upsets, which could happen. But, based on the bracket and how it's laid out, that kind of feels like, those are the 4 best teams with the 4 best chances, based off the bracket. And then as far as the NFL, hell, it's up for grabs. We don't really know how it's going to play out for the NFC or the AFC. Ethan Evans with the kick, 65 yards, touchback to the Seattle 35. Handoff to Charbonnet. Short game. I mean, it's either going to be more than likely Oregon or Indiana in the top bracket and then Georgia and Ohio State in the bottom bracket. So, I mean, it doesn't really take a rocket scientist to look at the bracket and figure out who's going to probably get there. 2-yard run there by Zach Charbonnet, Davis and Johnson with the tackle. Second down and 8 at the Seattle 37. And we'll find out if those teams that had about 3 weeks to a month off, where everyone lost last year that had the bye, but I don't think everyone will lose this year. I think you're going to get a couple teams that will win, but there may be a couple that will lose. Got to have that continuity and that chemistry. And if you don't have a college football game in 3 weeks to a month, that could change everything. Uh-oh, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And the Rams are very good at sack lunching. Whether it's Turner or Jared Verse, Kobe Turner, beast. Jared Verse, beast. I wish Tampa Bay had both of those players on the roster and then had Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. as well. I love those guys. Big sack lunch there from Kobe Turner. 3rd down and 16 at the Seattle 29. Shotgun set, and they go safe again. They just run it to Kenneth Walker III up the middle. He breaks a lot of tackles. Wow. First down, Hawks. They went for a play that was very, passive, where they were just assuming that they would get 5 yards, and then he ends up getting the first down on 3rd and 16. Wow. That was not what they were anticipating, but they'll take it. And then we're down to the 2-minute warning, and Kenneth Walker III is single-handedly keeping the Hawks in this game. Big play in the first quarter and another big play in the second quarter. Time to get JSN the fucking football. Let's go. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. 13-7. And again, I feel like, when you end up watching teams that are really good on offense and defense, sometimes you are going to get a little bit lower scoring of a game, but again, that doesn't mean a game that is, 21-19 or 24-20 can't be entertaining. To me, that's almost like the perfect type of game, when you end up getting like a 24-23 or 24-20 kind of final, because that means that, the defenses came to play, but then the offenses obviously ended up having some big plays at some point to be able to extend the score, from the teens to the 20s. And again, obviously, if you get into the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, there's no fucking defense at all. It just ends up being back and forth, like the Rams and the Lions, where each team that has the ball is scoring, the defense can't really stop anybody. Or, going against Tampa Bay's defense, you're putting up points, and it's easy, right? So in this one, again, defenses are legit for both teams. They both have the highest plus minus out of any two teams in the league. But again, the main difference is going to be the O-line and the D-line, which favors the Rams slightly. And again, especially when you have guys like Kobe Turner and, obviously Jared Verse. Now, we know Seattle's got some great players up front as well, but they need to be able to get to Stafford, and so far they haven't been able to. 20 more to 50. Let's get it, baby. Beats for the streets, beats for the sheets, and everything in between. All right, baby, let's go. First down and 10 at the Seattle 46. And again, I decided to put him on the thumb because I thought he would be an X factor today. Obviously, I could always go JSN on every thumb, but something told me that Kenneth Walker III could be a factor, and he has been a factor in the first and the second quarter, bouncing it to the outside. And he's not really getting a whole lot of help, especially through the runs on the outside, but up front, he's been able to make a little bit of damage. And again, on a play that was very, passive aggressive, that they were just going to, get 5 yards and punt, they actually have a chance now, so they don't want to waste it. Make sure you go to at least one deep route to JSN on this drive to try to get you to 14-13. 5-yard run there by Kenneth Walker III. Second down and 5 at the Ram 49. Shotgun set, handoff up the middle, and trying to squirt his way towards that first down marker. And close to the line. Let's see where they spot it. He's short. Third down and 1 after that 4-yard run by Kenneth Walker III at the Rams 45. And Darnold with the sneak. First down, Hawks. Smooth the chains. Two-yard run by Darnold up the middle. Byron Young there with the tackle. First down and 10 at the Ram 43. Do not waste this opportunity. Down by 6 at home. You lost the first matchup by 2. You got to get JSN the ball. He wasn't able to get in the end zone last week against the Colts. He had 6 field goals by Jason Myers. That ain't going to cut it against the Rams. You got to get your big dog the ball. But again, you don't want to force it, if you're Darnold. Because, of course, they know that JSN, as far as yards, is number 1 in the NFL. Devontae Adams at one point was number 1 in tutties. And again, both guys have had fantastic seasons. Devontae Adams, though, with the knee and obviously with the leg injury, with the Achilles and whatnot, hamstring. And again, hopefully he'll be okay. JSN is out there. You got to give him a look. And handoff to Charbonnet. Very conservative here by Seattle. Second down and 9, and we have a Ram timeout. Yeah, we'll give you, everything and anything in between, as far as the broadcast and whatnot. We'll make it very entertaining, no matter who's playing. We'll give you all the information, which a lot of, I feel streamers leave out. They kind of give you a basic call, of the game, but I try to give you as much information as possible. So that way, we can be very descriptive, here on the channel, even if you're not able to watch live at the moment. 7 plays for 22 yards, 245 and counting. You got less than a minute to go. 58 seconds left here for Sam Darnold. Shotgun set, second down and 10. Darnold flushed out of the pocket, rolling to his left, pump fake, flag comes out, and pushed out of bounds. And we'll see if that's on Seattle. That might be holding on the O-line. Let's find out here. I appreciate it. And it definitely is something that didn't come overnight. It took a lot of time and energy, holding on the defense. Wow. Big play. Automatic first down, Hawks. But again, when you do football or baseball or basketball or hockey or NASCAR or whatever it is, each event is a little bit different, and you definitely have to be able to put in your work, if you're going to be able to do something like this, for a full-time job. That's for sure. First down and 10 after that defensive holding call, which is huge on Kitchens and Wallace with the defensive hold. Shotgun set for Darnold, low snap, quick pass, in rhythm, fumble, get it. Oh, and the Rams recover in the end zone. Oh no. And Durant comes up with the fumble recovery, huge. And that ends up taking points off the board. Unbelievable. Wow. Cooper Kupp going against his former team, and the Rams defense says, that's fine. You can make the catch. I'll just pop it out. And Cooper Kupp, you cannot fumble that football against your former team. And obviously JSN was scrambling to get to that ball in time, but helmet right on the football. Great defense there. And a great recovery by the Rams, by Durant in the end zone. Oh, no. Big fumble recovery. And again, it feels like every turnover is going to be magnified in this game. And we'll find out if Cooper will be able to make up for it in the second half. But, right now, not looking too good, especially when you're, very close on getting a minimum of 3, potentially 6 before half. And now you got to pray for a Hawk fan that they don't throw a big play to Puka and make it 20-7. Because if it ends up being 20-7, Hawks aren't coming back. You might catch up to a certain degree, but it's not like the Rams are going to be done scoring in the second half. So they have to be able to hold them to none or 3 here. You can't get down 20-7 at half. 16-7, you can come back from. 13-7, you can come back. And you could still potentially come back from, 21 or 20-7. It is possible. But again, the way this Rams team plays in the second half when they have a big lead, it'll definitely be tough to come back from that. Not impossible, but it would be very tough. And they're going to be doing a booth review here. And the call is overturned on the booth review. They're ruling the touchback ruling. And then Rams still keep the football, and then whistle is blown. "30-second timeout there by the Hawks. And any kind of momentum Seattle had, obviously evaporated. And again, Kenneth Walker III has been kind of the bright spot, so far in the first quarter and second quarter. You got to get those guys plenty of opportunities, and not just running the football with Kenneth Walker III, but also in the screen game and the passing game. I don't know if you're going to go to Cooper Kupp in the second half after what happened. Shotgun set on first down and 10. Stafford, floater, 1-on-2, incomplete. Good coverage there by Job and Love. Second down and 10. For Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Kanata Mumfield was the intended target. Second down and 10. Almost missed the handoff there to the running back. Wow. And then we got another injury on an offensive lineman on the Rams after that gain by Kyron Williams. 5-yard run by Kyron, DeMarcus Lawrence, the defensive end for the Hawks with the tackle. 3rd down and 5 at the Rams 25, timeout Hawks. Nevis 7 for 7, and obviously getting any kind of points on this drive would be huge for the Rams. Seattle needs a turnover or a big stop. 3rd down and 5. Tackle him. There we go. Finally, someone steps up to the plate. Leonard Williams, he's a dog. And obviously Seattle with no more timeouts, and that is it. All right, it's halftime. Well, at least they prevented, the score of the field goal or the touchdown. So Seattle only down by 6, not down by, 14 or 13. That'll definitely keep them in this game. So thank God they were able to find a way, to hold them to no points there at the end after that very unexpected fumble by Cooper Kupp. But that was just good defense. Helmet on the ball. What can you do? And again, you got to give JSN looks, whether that be screen passes, a jet sweep, reverse, a slant, a hitch. It doesn't always have to be these, long developing plays like post routes and hitch and goes and things of that nature. Obviously that means that you have to have time with your offensive line to be able to make that play happen. And obviously right now with Jared Verse and a few of those others on the D-line for the Rams, you're not having enough time for Darnold to do that. So then you got to be able to adjust. And instead of going for deep routes for JSN, you got to, go inside, slow, short, intermediate routes. So that way that he feels like he's involved in the game. And if you can get him the ball in space, he might be able to give you some good yak yards. But again, you're not going to win this game unless JSN gets his hands on the football at least a few times in the second half. We're at halftime here, 11 minutes and counting. And the bright side for Seattle fans, Hawk fans, you do receive the second half kickoff. So at least you have that going for you. You end up scoring right out of halftime. Boom. 14-13 or 13-10. And then you're right back in it. Anything photo-wise that you guys want me to throw up for the people that donated, let me know. Reflect, Sarah, not JT, let me know, and I got you. I mean, it wasn't the cleanest, first half. But again, Seattle fans know, how hard it is to beat the Niners and the Rams. Again, they've always been kind of looking up to both of those teams the last 5 to 10 years. Now, finally, Seattle, has a team where it feels like they can match up with anybody in the NFC. But again, sometimes, you're going to have a team in the division that's Big Brother. And you want to be Big Brother yourself. But sometimes, you got to be able to beat Big Brother to be able to, get that, kind of leverage, on where those teams are. And again, Seattle is no slouch. They're 11-3, right? 5-2 at home, 11-3 for the Rams. But again, the Rams have been doing this for the last couple years. This is the first year that Seattle has broke out with this roster. So again, sometimes you can't expect too much in the first year of a rebuild. Of building something really special where you might be able to win 10 games or more for 3, 4, 5 years in a row. And if you end up doing it the first year and you end up overachieving, sometimes you can get let down, based off expectations. So again, when you're going against a team like the Rams, they were a couple plays away from making the Super Bowl and potentially maybe even winning it last year. The Eagles beat them, but barely. And again, you saw the potential. And again, this game is in reach. You only lost by 2 in week 11, 21-19. We're pacing for a game like that. But again, if you don't get Kenneth Walker III enough touches and JSN the football, and your defense needs to get to Matthew Stafford, and we haven't really been able to see sacks or pressures on Stafford. And if Stafford's going to have all that time, eventually he's going to throw to a no-name player and get into the end zone. It doesn't always have to be Puka or Devontae Adams or Kyron Williams. As you've seen with some of these other guys, if they're open, Stafford will throw them the football. But a good first half, 13-7 Rams. Great choice. He will be starting on the team when the season starts, I believe. And I like that Colt can play 3 positions. He can play third, since obviously we know, with the Polo Gino situation, we have a few openings and whatnot. JP will be at short. You got Ben Williamson at third, Cole Young at second, and then obviously with Colt Emerson, he can play third, second, or short. Obviously feels more comfortable, playing shortstop, but JP is already there. And so, if we have to move him to third, he is one of those guys that might actually be able to, play all of the positions on a pretty high level. That picture is too blurry for my standards. See if I can find something better. But Colt has potential to be the best, out of all those guys. Better than Cole Young, better than Ben Williamson, and all of the other guys that are kind of still in the farm. So. Stud right there. I did get a notification through, the Mariners store, in Seattle and whatnot that they got Josh Naylor jerseys in there. And again, nice to be able to see. They got teal, white, and then the City Connect blue. So I imagine Josh Naylor jerseys are going to be pretty popular in Seattle, for the next 5 years. And, hopefully that'll be that piece that helps us get to where we want to get, the World Series. All right, we got less than 5 minutes to go here before half. Rams up 13-7. JSN with, no yards just yet. And again, they're going to have to adjust. Instead of just going deep to JSN for a lot of those big touchdowns in the past, you're not going to be able to do that, against a tough Ram defense. So you're going to have to go to short and intermediate routes and then hope that he ends up getting yak yards and breaking tackles to eventually get a 30, 40, 50-yard touchdown instead of just, assuming that they're just going to throw a 50-yard bomb and then JSN's going to catch it and score. You might be able to do that against like the Buccaneers and, teams that have had a weak secondary lately, but you're not necessarily going to be able to do that often against the Rams. I mean, is it possible that they go deep to JSN for a 50-yard bomb for a tutty in the second half? Of course. But the way that the Rams are built, just like Seattle, it's going to take a special type of play. And again, right now, the Rams have been able to get more pressure on Darnold rather than the Hawk defense getting pressure on Stafford. And that's pretty much the difference. Yeah, Colt Emerson is, again, we've had a few guys, sitting in, the farm system. Obviously, Harry Ford, recently just got traded to Washington, so we could get another lefty in the pen. So we're okay there. Nitzer, we picked him up, as the backup catcher to Cal. So we'll see how that goes. A very cheap deal. Anytime you can get a guy for, 500,000 to $1 million, obviously you're saving money. And then, again, we'll have a few guys that are young that we'll call up. Ben Williamson, Cole Young, Colt Emerson will have an opportunity. And then hopefully we'll get a little bit of Cade Anderson. And we'll see how the rest of the roster kind of shapes up. But I assume that the Mariners will be buyers at the deadline like they were when they got Gino and Naylor. I believe that we will be buyers again. And I do believe that we're going to have a very good chance of winning the division. And if we don't win the division, pretty good chance to get second place and do some damage in the playoffs. So, hopefully this will be the first year out of like a 5-year run in a row where we go to the playoffs every year. Mike in the building. What's good? Yeah, I mean, again, our offense is starting to get, somewhat healthy. But again, the defense is not able to really stop anybody. And you got Vita Vea, Levante David, Jamel Dean, and Antoine Winfield Jr., but 4 guys out of 11 ain't going to cut it. But, it just sucks when you can't stop the run, you can't stop the pass. And again, I feel confident with Baker, Bucky Irving, and Rashad White, and Sean Tucker, and Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin, and Sterling Shepard, and Tez Johnson, and Emeka Ibuka, and Jalen McMillan. I have amazing players on offense, but I only got really one stud on the line, and Tristan Wirfs. And then you got Graham Barton and a few other guys. At times they play good. At times they struggle. We've had a lot of injuries to the O-line. I think second most in the NFL based off starts. And again, when you don't have continuity and chemistry on the O-line, when guys are hurt and you have to mix and match, you struggle. And that's why we're 7-7, instead of being maybe, at like a 10-win team or a 9-win team, at this point. So, obviously I would have, loved to have been like 10-4 at this point, but, defense wins games, defense wins championships. And when you don't have a good defense, guess what? You don't win games and you don't win championships. So obviously when you look at the formula, the Rams, offense, defense, Seattle, offense, defense, the Broncos, offense, defense, right? The Patriots, offense, defense. The only team that's elite that could end up making it to the Super Bowl that doesn't really have a complete defense is the Buffalo Bills, because you got Josh Allen and you got James Cook, who are playing like they are the 2 best at their position, right? And then on top of that, the secondary is top 5 for the Bills, but their run defense is like bottom 3. So if you can run on the Bills, that includes the Broncos, the Patriots, or anybody, you're going to beat them. But if you end up fading the run in the second half, which most teams do against Buffalo, getting in a shootout with Josh Allen, that's how you lose, because the secondary will end up making those big plays. So, the Bills are, the anomaly. They're the one out of, everyone, like they can actually win games in certain ways that other teams can't, because other teams don't have Cook at running back. They don't have Josh Allen, who's the biggest threat, through his legs and his arm this year. You don't really see it out of Jalen Hurts or Lamar the same type of way. Maybe Baker might be even better at running the football than Lamar and Jalen this year, even though it doesn't lead to a touchdown and we don't really run a tush push in Tampa. But again, it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. We're just ready to come back from halftime. And again, JSN, if you know that the defensive line is that strong and you have no Charles Cross and you have to have a backup in there against Jared Verse, you're not going to have time for big plays that develop. And again, if you can recognize that, Seattle will have a good chance of coming back and winning this game. But again, if they're able to, keep the ball out of JSN's hands and they don't go to Kenneth Walker III enough, the Rams are going to run away with this. So again, and also Seattle needs to come up with a big play, a pick, an interception, a blocked punt, a blocked field goal, a pick six, a fumble for a touchdown. They need something extra to get back into this. First spring training game for the Mariners is February 20th, and I still haven't heard any word on how much it's going to cost to watch Mariners. whether it's going to be affordable at like $9.99 a month, or if they're going to try to, be bastards and try to make us pay like $20 a month to watch, whatever it is, I'm going to have to pay it. Obviously, me doing this as a full-time job, but I'm hoping that they'll make it affordable for Mariner fans to watch. But if they're going to televise some of those games, even as early as February 20th, after the Super Bowl is over, obviously, I wouldn't mind doing some spring training games to be able to see some of the young talent that the Mariners have. But sometimes those games aren't televised, so we'll have to kind of wait and see. Evans, 65-yard kick, touchback to the 35 of Seattle. And let's see if Sam Darnold can get the job done. I just hope the Mariners end up making it affordable. Man in motion, Darnold, halfback toss. And there's just nowhere to go. The Rams are so fast, sideline to sideline. Not to say that Seattle isn't, but it feels like some of the Rams players come up with bigger plays on defense with Verse and a few of the others, and Kobe Turner. I'm going to miss Root. I'm going to miss some of those people that had jobs there, and I'm just curious to see, who they're going to have calling games and who's going to be in the pre-show and the post-show and the cameras they're going to use. Are they going to be like 4K or 8K? Is it going to be like Apple TV Plus with the better cameras? I just hope that it ends up, doing us justice as Mariner fans. Charbonnet with a 2-yard run up the middle. Spites with the tackle. 2nd down and 8 turns into 3rd down and 1 after a Darnold pass to Charbonnet with a 7-yard gain. Spites and Turner there with the tackle. 3rd down and 1 at the Seattle 44. And 3rd and inches. Darnold under center. They're trying to draw him off sides. And QB sneak. And it looks like he gets just enough for the 1st down. I don't know. For me, and I know some people, might have not liked, some of the people that were on there and whatnot, but overall, I really did enjoy Root, And again, not everyone is going to be a Brad Adam guy or girl. Not everyone's going to like Angie or some of the others that they had, in there and whatnot. But, obviously Sims, went to New York and he went back home. And I know some people liked him, some people didn't. But, Goldie is better anyways. And Riz is amazing on the radio. So nice cutback. Go, baby, go. Go, baby, go. The 30, the 20, the 10, the 5. Touchdown, Hawks. And that's why I put Kenneth Walker III on the thumb. The ESP is on point, baby. Let's go. That's how you come back in a game, baby. Kenneth Walker III. I could have put JSN on the thumb. No. I decided to go who I think is going to be the X factor. Kenneth Walker III. Big play in the 1st quarter. Big play in the 2nd quarter, and even a bigger play in the 3rd quarter. 55-yard touchdown run. Touchdown, Hawks. Let's go. It's a little bit of like the foreshadowing in my thumbs, on who's going to end up making the big play. And sometimes it won't be the most popular player that I put on there. Great job by Kenneth Walker III, making me look smart out there. Extra point is up through the crossbar, and good. 14-13 Hawks. And again, if they're going to limit what JSN does, give the rock to Kenneth Walker III. And look at that. Big play in the 1st quarter, big play in the 2nd quarter, and a bigger play in the 3rd quarter. Keep feeding that man. Seahawks, 14-13, Seattle. The battle in Seattle is getting real now. Let's go, baby. Yes, sir. I like that. Let's go. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Incredible run by Kenneth Walker III. 55 yards. Let's go. Jolly with a tenner. Great seeing you. Let's go. Stacks. Racks, and a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you. Another $10 holla on the dono train. Let's go. and it's going to come down to Jolly Panthers or my Buccaneers, and I wish you the best of luck. When we play each other twice, if you end up, winning those matchups, you deserve to make it. You guys have a defense, and the offense is a work in progress. I have an offense, but I don't got a defense, and again, I would love to be able to win the NFC South for the 5th year in a row. I got an easier path to get there. Panthers twice, Dolphins once after they benched Tua. And again, we'll see with Quinn Ewers, and we know Zach Wilson's mad that he didn't get a chance, but we'll see how that goes. But if you guys end up beating us twice, you're going to get there. Normally we split though when we play each other, so we'll see where it goes. Captain with a $5, great to see you. Stacks, Rax with a little Cactus Jack, bang bang. Another $5 holla on the Dono train. Let's go. I don't think it's completely unmatched. I mean, have you been watching Buccaneer games lately? I mean, I give you guys exactly how it is. I never sugarcoat anything. I have a lot of, big name recognition, but as far as like playing up to our potential, that Falcon game, shouldn't have lost that. I mean, how do you lose to a team that's got almost fucking 20 penalties and they make Kirk Cousins look like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? You don't deserve to win. If the O-line and the defense are going to play that bad, And again, if you're going to take advantage of some of the miscues, from Tampa, like I love Vita Vea. I love Levante David. I love Antoine Winfield Jr. And I love Jamel Dean. But other than those 4 guys, the other 7 in the backups have been playing shitty, and again, Bolds should be fired. Whether they fire him after the season, we'll find out if we win the NFC South or not. But, I feel like your guys' defense is a hell of a lot better, even though you may not have a lot of the big name recognition. And then the offense, obviously may not be as good as Tampa's based off name recognition. But, again, at times, you guys play pretty well, with what you guys have to work with Rico Dowdle, Ted McMillan, and Bryce Young. So, I think it's going to be a fucking war. We got the battle in Seattle right here, but it's going to be a war between the Buccaneers and the Panthers for that last spot in the playoffs. Believe you me. And again, I don't think you're unmatched, man. I think that you guys could win it. And hell, I wouldn't even be shocked if you guys beat us twice based on how we've been playing lately. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't mean it. I don't sugarcoat shit and make shit up to make people feel good. I call it exactly how I see it. When the team is good, you're going to know it. When the team is bad, you're going to know it. I don't need to act like that there's no issues with the team when there clearly is, right? I definitely will give credit where credit is due, even if it's not one of my favorite teams. And that's one thing on this channel that you normally don't see from other channels, giving credit to the opponent. Greatness is everywhere, and it's not always on your favorite team or my favorite team. 1 yard run by Kyron Williams, Leonard Williams and Nwosu with the tackle. 2nd down and 9, pass out there to Allen and complete. 3rd down and 9 at the Rams 28. Big Kenneth Walker the third, 55-yard run, stumbling and a bumbling down the sideline, and Seattle scores 14-13. They got a 1-point lead. And again, Kenneth Walker the third was the guy that made the big play in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd quarter. And again, JSN may be a non-factor in this game, but if you keep, being patient with it, there still is an opportunity for JSN to be the difference maker before this one is up. But the same thing obviously goes on the flip side to the Rams and Puka Nacua. 3rd down and 9. Stafford, he's going deep. He's got a man wide open. Uh-oh. 1st down, Rams. Blown coverage there by Seattle. Move the chains. Seattle was favored by 1.5 coming into the game on the Vegas line. "48-yard pass to Xavier Smith." Who? And that's the great thing about the Rams, where they can have these no-name players like the Niners come up big, and make these big plays, where we're normally seeing Puka and we're normally seeing Devontae Adams and guys that we're more familiar with, Blake Corum and Kyron Williams. But then you get guys like Xavier Smith. Who? And again, that's the great thing about Sean McVay, the trust that he has in low-name jobber players to get the job done, And again, there'll be other guys that are pretty good, like Tutu Atwell, when healthy, that can step up. But, it's a special thing, when you can plug and play anybody at wide receiver, running back, or tight end and feel confident that they can play like the big boys. And Tampa's favored by 3 in that first matchup at Carolina, but it's at 10 a.m. And I definitely will be taking a very early walk with the pup, and I'll be very heavily invested in that game. I don't know if I'll be able to get the game locally, but if I do get it locally here, I might stream it. But we will be doing Sunday Night Football with the Patriots and the Ravens, and then the Colts and Niners. But if any of those last games of Tampa come here to Oregon on Fox or CBS, then I might end up doing at least one if possible. And obviously, I'd rather do Panthers-Bucks rather than Buccaneers-Dolphins. Nothing really to see there. Flag on the play. Jackson with the hold. And so far, there haven't been too many self-inflicted wounds. But that's a big one there. Alaric Jackson, tackle with the hold. First down and 10 turns into first down and 20. Seattle's got a little bit of momentum, and the Rams are going backwards. Oh, flea flicker. Stafford, check down. 2 blockers downfield. Look at that block. Wow. 2 big blocks. Great execution there by Stafford. Sean McVay is cooking. And he got 16 yards off that penalty. First and 20 turns into, second down and 4. Second down and 4 at the Seattle 18. Yeah, but again, if we can't stop the run and we can't stop the pass, Jolly, you guys might be able to do better than you have against other opponents where you've struggled. Like, it actually might be a game where we both get into the 20s or maybe even the 30s, based on, our defense is, not the greatest, but yours is pretty good. So 2-yard run there by Matthew Stafford, scrambling to the sideline. Devin Witherspoon chasing him down. Third down and 2 at the Seattle 16. McVay is great. I'm a big fan of McVay and Shanahan. I know Shanahan has a problem, coaching in the fourth quarter in the big games. But as far as intelligence and the types of play calling that you get, you don't really get a lot of guys on that level. Ben Johnson is showing for the Bears that he's trying to be, like those two. And there's a few other guys that are similar, But again, I think as far as consistency, it's hard to find guys as intelligent and young and passionate as Shanahan and McVay. Imagine if McVay was Seattle's coach, how much better the team would be, at least in the play calling department. And obviously they got a defensive-minded coach, which is good for Seattle. That's what they need, the O-line and the defense to be better. But if they actually had McVay calling plays for Seattle, they would definitely be able to open up that playbook a little bit more. Field goal attempt here by Mevis. On 4th down and 3, 36-yarder. And the kick is up and good, but flag on the play. False start. Wow, another big penalty there on the Rams. Yeah, he's done a great job with Bo. Absolutely. And then once the Broncos actually have good players for Bo to go to, then they're going to be able to go even further. Defense is elite, but the offense is, definitely a work in progress. You need more than Cortland Sutton and R.J. Harvey. And Evan Ingram is a name, but he drops too many passes. Not very reliable. 5-yard penalty, 4th down and 8, and another field goal attempt here for the Rams. 41-yarder now. Kick is up. Better snap that time. Right down the middle, and it's good. 16-14 Rams, and it feels like it's going to be whoever has the ball last might win the game. I am. That's going to be the best thing going on tomorrow for the college football playoff. So I'm going to do probably about half of the games in the college football playoff, depending on the NFL schedule. So I will be doing Bama, Oklahoma tomorrow. So if you are free, come hang out with me tomorrow and let's watch that first game of the college football playoff. Then on Saturday, I'm going to do Oregon and JMU. But I also will be watching Green Bay and Chicago go at it at the same time. And then the Eagles and Washington are on earlier at 2. So I'll be watching a lot of NFL and college football, as well as the other college football playoff games. And then on Sunday and Monday, we're going to do the Ravens and Patriots for Sunday Night Football. If the Buccaneers and Panther game is local for me, I might be able to do that at 10 a.m. on Sunday, but I imagine it won't be. But I'll still watch it because I have access. And then on Monday, we'll be doing the Colts and the Niners. And then realistically, we'll probably be off on Tuesday and Wednesday, unless there's something worthwhile to do on those days. And then we'll be right back at it on Thursday for Thursday Night Football. So, but yes, I will be doing that tomorrow. And if you're free, come through, man. I assume Oklahoma will win that game since Bama put up 7 against Georgia, in the SEC championship game. But again, defenses, there'll be a little bit of give. And, and again, Alabama, you would assume, will score more than 7 against Oklahoma. And it hopefully ends up being a good game in the 20s or 30s, but you never know. But we'll do James Madison in Oregon. That'll be on. And then obviously we're doing Alabama and Oklahoma tomorrow. I won't be doing Tulane and Ole Miss or Miami, Texas A&M, but you best believe I'll be watching. And then as we get further along, Oregon and Texas Tech, Oregon and Indiana, we'll definitely do those. And then obviously if we get to a point where it's, Georgia and Ohio State, at the, chance to be able to make it, to the Natty, I'll probably end up doing that game as well. So, we're going to end up doing most of the matchups. There only will be a couple that we won't do. So, Christmas night, Broncos and Chiefs. I will be live streaming that game. That'll be the last game on the, Christmas slate. It would be better if the Chiefs were good this year and in the playoff hunt, but, it'll be still a good test for the Broncos to go on the road. And, obviously Mahomes won't be playing. So you assume it could be a blowout, but at least it gives us a chance to hang out Christmas evening and talk about some of the gifts that we gave and the gifts that maybe we received. And, maybe the Chiefs will play slightly better than we assume. We assume it will be ugly, but you never know. JSN targeted once, no yards. They got to be better. %45% of the team's receiving yards, 4th highest in his season since 1970, but he's got 0 today. How do you, and again, when you got a guy as talented as JSN, do you have an offensive coordinator that's smart enough to change the strategy? And I'm not too sure about Seattle. At times, he does pretty good, but, you have to understand who you're going against. And if you're going against a team that's got an amazing D-line, Darnold is not going to have time like he did in previous games, throughout the year. I mean, it's one thing when you're going against like the fucking Browns or the Raiders, or the Jets, but clearly you're not going against one of those shitty teams here today. Darnold to JSN, incomplete. 2nd down and 10 at the Seattle 35. They have to be more creative on how you get the ball to him. Screen pass, jet sweep, reverse, and short intermediate routes, not the deep routes. Darnold doesn't have time to be able to go for 5 seconds and find him. At least he hasn't up to this point. 2nd down and 10 at the Seattle 35. And we got a false start on Seattle. Zabel, the rookie, with the penalty. But great draft pick for Seattle, though. Wings in the freezer. That'll do you a solid, especially if you've been out in this wet weather. Wings for the win. 2nd down and 15. Shotgun set. Rams bringing 4. There we go. There he is. Nice slant. A little short to intermediate route. Looks like they got the message. 1st down, Hawks. There we go. Nice job by JSN. And Wallace on JSN is a mismatch. 20-yard pass from Darnold to JSN. Keep feeding him the rock. Screen pass, Charbonnet, and a great tackle there by Wallace to make up for getting burnt by JSN on the previous play, then ends up making the big tackle on Charbonnet. And that's the thing. I feel the play calling for Seattle sometimes is shitty, and I think Seahawks fans would agree. And, again, there's certain times where, they're flowing and they'll have like 5 good play calls in a row, but then other times you'll have 1 good play and then like 3 dumb ones. Like, you got to be more consistent with the play calls, and I definitely wouldn't have ran a screen with Charbonnet right there after going to JSN on the previous play. Remember who made the big play to give you the lead? Kenneth Walker III. Don't forget that. And then run up the middle by Charbonnet. No gain. What are we doing? Looks like they gave him 2 yards on that last run. Davis and Ford with the tackle. 3rd down and 8 at the Rams 48. Consistency is king in anything in life, especially in football. Three wide receiver set. And let's see if the Rams bring blitz on 3rd down and 8. They haven't really been bringing the house that often. But when they blitz on 3rd down, you better get rid of that football. 3rd down and 8. Intercepted! Big play! Pick 6! Potentially! Oh my! He's going to the 10, the 5, and he's dropped down to the 1. Uh-oh. And that's exactly what I was saying. The play calling for Seattle. You have to know your strengths and your weaknesses. Wallace gets burnt by JSN on a 20-yard pass, right? And what happens? Darnold says, I'm going to lock in. Wallace says, not today. Big. At least they prevented the pick 6. But again, play calling and execution for Seattle. And again, if you're not on the same level, with the OC, head coach, or your receiver, that's the type of shit that happens right there. Big interception by Josh Wallace. And remember, the Rams intercepted Darnold 4 times, in week 11. That gave them the 21-19 victory. They only lost by 2 with 4 picks. But again, Darnold seeing ghosts again. You got to be better. And now, potentially, the Rams are going to score on like 1 play. And I told you that interception or fumble was going to happen in the second half, and there it was. And Blake Corum is in off the first play. Touchdown, Rams. Now, Seattle is definitely going to have to come up with a big interception or fumble in the second half, or they're not going to win this game. Chances are, they're not going to be able to compete with the Rams. And let's see if did he clear it? Yeah, broke the plane there by Blake Corum.
Oh my God.
And you can't turn the football over. You had the Cooper Kupp fumble, but they didn't score points off that. But they definitely scored off the Wallace pick. 1 yard touchdown rush for Blake Corum. An extra point by Mevis coming in. Extra point is up. And right down the middle and good. 23-14. And again, you're still in range, to be able to come back and, win this game or force overtime. But again, you can't make any more mistakes this game. You already have 2 turnovers. If you end up getting 1 more, it's automatically over, realistically, and it might already be over at this point. I mean, you're right now down by 9. And again, you still have time, to make the adjustments. But, again, Darnold and the play caller and the OC, they got to be on the same page. And if you're not on the same page, again, the Rams have your number. And again, there's a reason why a lot of people, assume that the Rams were going to win the division coming into the year, like myself, and that had the chance, to be the top dog over the Eagles and the NFC this year. Not to say that Seattle isn't a good team. They are, and again, they're really the teams that, they're going to struggle with are normally the teams that are within the division, like the Niners and the Rams. Other than that, they can pretty much beat anyone. They only have 3 losses this year. Rams, Niners, Buccaneers, by 4, 3, and 2. So it's not like Seattle's been blown out. But again, if they want to prevent, to be blown out for the first time in the season, they definitely got to get Kenneth Walker III to football, and they got to find a way to get JSN some looks as well. 23-14 Rams. And sometimes as little brother, you got to fight and scrap and claw, to be able to be big brother. And, the Niners were big brother, Seattle was little brother. And then now the Rams are big brother, and Seattle is trying to be big brother, but again, sometimes, you can kind of just feel in certain aspects you're a little outmatched. Overall, the team is great, Seattle, but there is certain circumstances like, head coach, play calling, the OC, and obviously you trust Stafford a little bit more than you do Darnold. They both, can get interceptions, but again, they're going to have to be flawless the rest of the way. 6:30 and counting in the third quarter, down by 9. They're definitely going to need points either on this next drive or the drive after that if they want to keep this close. All right, Seattle, you got to come up with the defense. And it's not like Seattle doesn't have good defensive players. They got a good D-line. They got some linebackers that can make some plays. And they have some secondary players, that can get picks and, jar the football out. You just can't have the fumbles and the interceptions. And, even though Cooper Kupp, had the big fumble, they didn't get points off of it. So, again, only one turnover has given them points. But, again, in the second half, it kind of felt like whoever maybe had the ball last would win, unless you ended up having that big interception or fumble, and there it was. Ethan Evans with a 65-yard kick, touchback to the 35, first down and 10 at the Seattle Seahawks 35. And again, stop going to Charbonnet, go to Kenneth Walker III, and let the game come to you. And again, if Darnold keeps forcing it, or they keep going to Charbonnet, they're going to get blown out. Darnold, and a little check down. Ooh, big hit there by the Rams. 5 Rams in his grill. Barner with a nice grab, and he didn't fumble. First down, Hawks. I saw that. Him, his wife, and his kids. Prayers up to Greg Biffle. 7 people died on that plane, too. Biffle is from Vancouver, Washington, too. He was one of those guys. He never was like the best, but he was one of those underdog guys like Mark Martin that you always kind of rooted for to do well. Oh, Darnold gets popped. Oh, almost intercepted. And if that was better position there by the Rams, that could have been a pick 6. And you can definitely see that the offensive line for Seattle is getting beat the fuck up. Charles Cross is out. Injuries obviously are an issue. But again, Jared Verse, as well as a few others there on the line, making themselves known. Intended receiver was JSN, but Seattle's O-line needs to play a little bit better if they have any chance in this game. Second down and 10, and a nice laser there. First down, Hawks. Nice job by JSN. Move the chains. There we go. And it's not like the Rams are, blitzing, bringing 6-7 guys. Most of the plays, they're only bringing 4, occasionally 5, and they're not blitzing on third down or first down every single, drive for Seattle. Floater and complete. Flag on the play. That looked like holding on the O-line there for Seattle. Abraham Lucas, the guilty party. And again, you can't have self-inflicted wounds if you're going to beat a team as good as the Rams, especially if they're the potential number 1 team in the NFC. First down and 20 at the Seattle 47. You can't have self-inflicted wounds if you're going to try to come back in this one. About 5 minutes left here in the third quarter. Seattle desperately needs a field goal or a touchdown to get back in it. Three wide receiver set, shotgun set. They go for a draw to Kenneth Walker III. And they finally give Walker the ball, but not in a fucking good opportunity. 1 yard run by Kenneth Walker III. Byron Young with the tackle. Yeah, I feel confident with Lanning as long as he stays. Eventually we're going to, get to a natty. We may not win the first time that we go with Dan, but I feel like if he stays for the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to win at least one. Hopefully we can win a couple, but you never know. College football is hard. Kenneth Walker reversing the field. Go, Kenneth! And where are his damn blockers? No fucking Seahawks lineman in sight. Tries to make nothing to something, but not a whole lot there as we see Stafford and Devontae Adams chopping it up on the sideline. 5 yard pass from Darnold to Walker. Wallace with the tackle. 3rd down and 14 at the Rams 47. Panthers can beat the Buccaneers at home or on the road. It's going to be a really fun game, in those 2 games in the last 3 weeks, man. Let the best man win. 3rd down and 14, shotgun set. Rams only rushing 4. Darnold going to the sideline. And not even close to Cooper Kupp. Come on, Darnold. And I kind of feel like he is starting to see a little bit of ghost based on the pressure that the Rams have been able to give him, in these first 3 quarters. 4th down and 14 at the Rams 47. Hawks with the punt, and again, it's like Stafford is an MVP quarterback. Darnold is a good quarterback, just those slight differences, for, one guy, might win MVP. The other guy, isn't MVP, but he's been damn good this year, but there is a difference, and then I feel really the biggest difference, from just watching this game, O-line, D-line, and the play calling, which we kind of assumed would be the difference makers at the beginning of the broadcast. And that is the difference. The line of scrimmage has been won by the Rams for the most part in this game. The Rams aren't having those big turnovers. Seattle has 2. And, sometimes those little things are the difference. (23-14) Rams. And Seattle has got to pray that the Rams don't score too many more points the rest of the way. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to catch up. You got to pray that the Rams get field goals the rest of the way. And then the maximum amount of points the Rams can score for the Seahawks to come back is probably 6. If the Rams get to 29, that means you're down by 15. But again, that's what you need to hope for. That they score 6 points or less, 2 field goals or less, and then you might have a chance. But again, the play calling has been a little suspect, and it needs to be better, a little bit more consistent. Dixon, 32 yards, out of bounds, 1st down and 10 at the Rams 15. Victoria in the building, what's good? Yeah, and Dan has no interest in going to any other college program or going to the NFL. And when you have a coach that's willing to stay, that's a huge recruiting, tool to be able to use. If you go to another school, the coach may leave, maybe not Ryan Day or Kirby Smart, but Dan Lanning is in the same group with those other 2 coaches. So, and we obviously know Cignetti for Indiana is fantastic as well, and what he's been able to do in 2 years for Indiana. So, but Dan is going to be, a long time tenured coach, I do believe. And, that's going to be a huge recruiting tool, for us moving forward, knowing that they're not going to have to worry about him, dipping and leaving. And that's a huge tool to be able to use moving forward. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. I mean, last time that the Seahawks played the Rams, Darnold had 4 picks. You lost by 2, right? Right now, he's only got 1 pick, and you're down by 9. And sometimes, even, though you have an 11-3 record and you've only lost games by 4, 3, and 2 to the Niners, Buccaneers, and Rams in the season, sometimes there's going to be that team that's just the fucking top dog, just like the Eagles were last year when they added Saquon. And even with no Devontae Adams, you wouldn't know it watching this game, and that's based on Sean McVay and what he's been able to implement with this team. And again, they have a lot of no-name players at wide receiver and tight end that have been making plays for them, not only in this game, but throughout the year. Stafford, after that 6-yard run by Kyren, and a short run again there on now 3rd down. Back-to-back runs there for Kyren Williams, 6 yards and 1 yard. Jones and Thomas with the tackle. 3rd down and 3 at the Rams 22. But the one thing I will say about this, if Seattle does end up losing this game and they do match up in the playoffs, it is hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. So if Seattle does end up dropping this game and they match up in the playoffs, there is a chance that Seattle could end up finally being victorious when it matters the most, the playoffs. Shotgun set, 3rd down and 3. Stafford. 1st down, Rams, move the chains. Xavier Smith coming up big, another 1st down. Yeah, and it's not only the Rams that give you guys problems, so do the Niners. It's like it feels like, those are the 2 teams, that have been kind of at the top, and Seattle is maybe a year early, and again, if you can just figure out maybe a better offensive coordinator, offensive line and defensive line, still need some steady improvement. And remember, the O-line, prior to this year was bottom 3. Now they're in the middle. Now, if they eventually can make that offensive line top 10, that can maybe be the difference on how you beat the Rams. Stafford, check down. Obviously, adding a few more pieces on defense wouldn't hurt as well. 4-yard pass from Stafford to Kyren. 2nd down and 6 at the Ram 35. Again, if you have a fantastic coach and a fantastic play caller, it definitely makes a big difference week in and week out. Stafford on 2nd down and 6, handoff. And a short gain there by the Rams. Three-yard run by Kyren Williams. 3rd down and 3 at the Rams 38. All right, Seattle needs a fucking turnover desperately and a stop. Shotgun set. Seattle brings the blitz. Stafford lines up. Puka is there. Runs away from a Hawk and another. Rumbling and a bumbling and down to the 4 or 5 yard line. I feel that this one is over. Once the Rams score a touchdown here, this is going to be the first blowout for Seattle, unfortunately. I mean, you don't got any answers for Puka. And again, even though Seattle is coached by a defensive-minded coach, sometimes you're just, outmatched. And apparently, that is coming to fruition here. End of the 3rd quarter, 23-14 Rams, but they're knocking on the door at the 4, and it's almost inevitable that they're going to score. The only way Seattle can keep close in this game is if they end up getting an interception or fumble and preventing the score. But if they end up getting the field goal or the touchdown, it's not fully over yet, but it's starting to head that way. Seattle is the closest to the NFL with a college atmosphere. Seattle definitely has amazing fans. I mean, I've been there before, and depending on what, college, atmosphere you're talking about, but, there definitely are a few, teams that have very passionate fans, Seahawks fans, very passionate. Chiefs fans, even with what's happened this year, very passionate. Bills fans, are very passionate, jumping through the tables, in pregame and whatnot, Eagles fans are passionate, sometimes a little extra and whatnot, but, the passion is there, but there definitely are a few teams that person for person bring it a little bit more on the decibel level. And I know this loss potentially can sting, for Seattle, but sometimes this is how it goes when you play a team that's better than you. It's like you can have the same record and both be 11-3, but again, you just have to be able to understand what you did right, understand what you did wrong, and also what you need to be able to build on. And obviously for me, O-line and D-line need to be a hell of a lot better, but also the play calling for Seattle isn't the greatest. I feel like that's one of the biggest weaknesses for the Hawks. The offensive coordinator is not very good. I think that there's quite a few, individuals that could play, a little bit better within the players that they have. I don't think he's the worst, in the NFL by any means, but kind of feels sometimes, when they need to run, they throw, and when they need to throw, they run. And sometimes when they run with the wrong guy, and they go with Charbonnet instead of Walker, and not getting JSN looks in the first half when he's the best wide receiver, in the league. And we understand how good the Rams are. They are, to me, the best team in the NFC. Even before this game, started, I felt like this was the best team. And then obviously after, the Rams and the Hawks, right? You got the Eagles and then the Bears and the Packers and the Lions, and you got, the Niners, you got these other teams on that next tier below, but I feel like Seattle is much improved on the offensive line instead of being bottom 2, bottom 3, for all those years. Now they're in the middle, like 15th, 16th, but injuries with Charles Cross, not ideal when Verse is on the other side. And again, it's about the execution and the play calls. And again, defense, player for player, they need a little bit more. Stafford, hands off to Kyron. And really the only way Seattle can get back into this, they have to force a turnover here. I mean, if you can get the field goal, that'll help. Then at that point, you're down 26-14 and you're still, quote unquote, in it, but you haven't proven that you can really stop the Rams. And that's kind of the issue. And Kenneth Walker came up with big plays in the first, second, and third quarter. They better give him the ball in the fourth if they want to be able to get in the end zone. Kyron up the middle, no gain. Kyron still pumping those legs. Great effort, though. Second and goal at the Seattle 4. And it's not like I don't like the Hawks. I really like what they got going on. But again, it's like, if you look at their quarterback compared to the Rams quarterback, I feel like the running backs, you're pretty similar, with Kenneth Walker III and Charbonnet and what they got with Blake Corum and Kyron Williams. There's not really that much of an advantage for one team to the next, right? Wide receivers, tight ends, you can definitely have some no-name guys for the Rams. They can play just like the big guys on Seattle. And obviously the difference to me is the O-line, the D-line, and then the play calling, especially on offense for Seattle. It's like you got to play a perfect game to be able to beat a team like the Rams. Just like last year, if you were going to beat the Eagles, you got to stop Saquon, you got to get to Jalen, you got to play perfect. And again, not the perfect game at this point. And we got Kobe Bryant with an injury. Hopefully he's okay. He's hobbling pretty bad there. But again, Seattle's O-line and defense has drastically improved, from last year to this year. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they're 11-3. So, I mean, they've only lost games by 4, 3, and 2. But again, sometimes when you go against the best team in the conference, this happens. Touchdown, Puka Nacua. And now it feels like this one is over. 29-14, extra point by Mevis incoming. Stafford showing why he's the MVP in 2025. Who would have thought coming into the year that Stafford would have a year like this? No look pass to Puka, and they make it look very simple out there. Stafford, Puka, Sean McVay. Hard to find a better trifecta than that. Little slant, and again, that's what we needed to get out of JSN and Darnold earlier in the game. Extra point by Mevis is up, and good. 30-14 Rams. And again, if they can continue to keep beefing up the O-line, Seattle, going from 15th to 16th to 10th, and if they can kind of make that ground, and then again, find someone better at play calling on the offense and keep building the defense, then eventually, this Seattle team could be the Rams of this year, and again, it's not like they're that far off, but sometimes just those little matchups with execution from your OC and, a better O-line and a better D-line against an opponent within the division, sometimes that's all that matters, look at the Niners. They have a no-name defense by Saleh, but they're still in the mix. Who would have thought that the Niners would still be in the mix with all the injuries that they've had? And again, when you have amazing coaching, you can make average players into good players into elite players, and bad players into average players. Big facts. 30-14 Rams. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. And it's hard, to admit when a team in your division is better than you. You have pride. The fan bases, don't like each other, between the Rams and the Hawks and the Niners. And it hurts, sometimes being little brother. But again, if they keep building with what they got with Mike at head coach, eventually they can be big brother. They just might have to wait a few years for that to happen. And the Rams are elite too. After Aaron Donald retired, they haven't really skipped a beat. And again, if you can have a great owner, a great GM, a great head coach, great scouts, great coordinators, even when you end up losing one of the greatest players that's ever played in Aaron Donald, they've been drafting very, very well, and it definitely shows. Had to step away and give Paisley a little belly rub. All right, here we go. First down and 10. Come on, Sam. You're down by 16. Again, and this plays right into the hands of the Rams. Nice throw to JSN there. There we go. First down, Hawks. But again, when you get down, by 10 or more in the fourth quarter, they know that you're going to be passing the ball 70% of the time. And what does that do? Take away your biggest asset in Kenneth Walker III on the ground. And we know that him and JSN are going to give you the best chance, to be able to advance the football. And nice 27-yard pass by Darnold to JSN. But, hopefully they don't fade the running game. Otherwise, it's going to definitely get ugly. Another throw to JSN towards the sideline. I thought the Panthers played against the Niners pretty well. With all things considered, one team has been, a pretty good team for many, many years, and the Panthers have been a bottom feeder, and I thought that they played pretty well. The defense got a bunch of picks, and, again, it's hard to be able to go from the, worst to first, even though we see it every year. Darnold on 2nd down and 1. And there's Charbonnet. Paisley's in here now. She misses daddy. And a nice 6-yard run there by Zach Charbonnet. Josiah Stewart with the tackle, the linebacker for the Rams. First down and 10 at the Rams 23. Don't forget about Kenneth Walker III. Got to give him a look or two in the fourth quarter, preferably more than that. Halfback toss. There's just no lane for him there. The offensive line doesn't have enough pieces for him to explode off the edge there. Minimal gain there for Kenneth Walker III. I think I would rather see Kenneth Walker III in the screen game or run up the middle, rather than doing a toss. You got to be able to go with the strengths and weaknesses of the player and your offensive line. No gain. Puna Ford with the tackle. Second down and 10 at the Rams 23. Let's see if we can get a JSN touchdown to cut into this lead for the Rams. Shotgun set for Darnold on second down and 10. Nice pass. There we go. And just when I say get Kenneth Walker III in the passing game, next play, guess what? There he is. First down, Hawks. You got to be able to understand what your biggest assets are. Walker in the passing game. Great route right there by Kenneth Walker III. I know, I hear you, Paisley. I'll get you some snacks in a second. First and goal. Man in motion. JSN. Shotgun set for Darnold. Let's see if they end up bringing the blitz on any of these downs. Throw to the sideline. JSN is there. And he gets hugged and pushed out of bounds. Darius Williams with the coverage. Second and goal for the Hawks. And they need to make sure that they don't fade Kenneth Walker III. And so I get it. JSN has, been the best receiver based off yards this season. Devontae had more touchdowns, but you can't go to him every single play. Second and goal after that 4-yard pass. Man in motion, second and goal. Shotgun set. See if the Rams bring a blitz. Darnold, they only bring 4. Darnold has to go bootleg and scramble to the outside and just has to throw it away. And again, when you can only bring 4 and you make a quarterback, kind of get skittish like that, that's exactly playing into their hands. Third and goal at the Rams 6. Get Kenneth Walker III, in space. Run a similar route like they did earlier. I hear you, honey. And hopefully for Hawks fans and just NFL fans, Seattle will get in the end zone here to at least make it a little bit more manageable score-wise. Third and goal. Rams, they bring 4. Intercepted! Oh, my. And now this one is over. Kobe Turner, what a G. And Sam Darnold sees ghosts again. And again, sometimes there's just a team, that has your number. And again, that Rams defense is a lot better than people think. The Rams could win the Super Bowl. The Rams could end up making the NFC Championship game. And Darnold got hit, and there was nobody there. And even if it got past Kobe Turner, that wasn't going to be caught. Big turnover, and Seattle is pacing for their first blowout of the year, unfortunately. All right, I got to get Paisley some snacks here. She is hungry. I'll be back here in just a minute. All right, come on. And I don't really think there's necessarily, anything wrong, with Darnold. It's just the Rams are the top dog this year. They are the Eagles of last year, in my opinion. So, and again, it's not like, Darnold has similar stats to Stafford, where Stafford only has a few picks. And, remember, Darnold had 4, the last time the Rams played, so he's got some good stats, when you're like, coming into the game with like 22 touchdowns and 10 picks. But, if you're going in, against a quarterback that, is the MVP of the league, you have to match that type of energy. And unfortunately, all 3 turnovers for Seattle, not good. 2nd down and 6, handoff. And a short gain there. Blake Corum, no game. 3rd down and 6 at the Rams 15. Like, you have to play so clean against the best team in the NFC or AFC. Like, if you're playing against the Patriots or the Broncos or the Bills, you can't make mistakes. Same thing if you're going against the Rams. Again, for everyone else, there's a little bit of leeway, but tipped and incomplete. But it feels like, Seattle and Chicago and Green Bay, now after this loss, everyone is kind of even. It's like the Rams are at the top, and then everyone else, is kind of evenly matched below them. You got the Niners, and you got the Hawks, and you got the Packers and the Lions, and the Bears and the Eagles. And, who is the best team after the Rams? We don't know. And we'll find out in the last 2 to 3 weeks, who ends up getting hot at the right time. And we'll see if that number 2 team, can end up being on the same level as the number 1 with the Rams. But with the Rams schedule, I mean, there's a good chance that nice return. Rashid Shaheed, touchdown, Hawks. Wow. That came out of nowhere. Rashid Shaheed has been a good pickup, for Seattle, but a little too little, too late, it looks like. But they'll take that touchdown there. Nat Man in the building. What's good? For all the Seattle fans that turned the game off and whatnot, they'll be pleasantly surprised that they ended up getting a touchdown there. And again, that's what Seattle needed: a pick 6, a fumble for a touchdown, or, a kickoff or punt return for a touchdown. They needed something extra. Now they got it, but again, it's like, Darnold needs to play better. And let's see if he ended up stepping out of bounds or not. Doesn't look like it. Looks like he's in bounds the whole way. And a great punt return there by Rashid Shaheed, the former Saint. Yeah. But it's not just Sam Darnold that sees ghosts against the Rams. It's pretty much anybody. Darnold, 2-point try. There it is. And 2-point conversion is good, and the Hawks are back in it. So for all the people that left the stream or turned the game off, they'll be pleasantly surprised that it's 30-22 now. And again, that's why you don't walk away. And you don't, turn the game off. It's not over till it's over. I mean, it still feels like the Rams are going to win, but again, great effort by Rashid Shaheed on getting the team back in it, even after the turnovers. Nobody misses Russell Wilson. 0. I know, Greg Biffle and his wife and kids passed. I saw that. Biff was from Vancouver, too. Local guy. Nice job by Cooper Kupp and Sam Darnold on the same page there. 2-point conversion. Got it in between his legs and pinned it there. And now it's 30-22 Rams. Now, if you're a Seahawks fan, you're praying to the fucking football gods that Stafford throws a pick 6 or they end up having a big fumble and then you score. If that happens, then you're going to have a chance to win this game or to have it go to OT. But again, what are the chances the Rams have a pick 6 or an interception or a fumble? We'll find out. But at least the Hawk fans can smile slightly now. They have the momentum. 30-22 Rams. But again, if that Rashid Shaheed punt return for touchdown doesn't happen, then this turns into a nasty blowout. Rams got the Falcons and Cardinals. Shit, they could play all their backups and win those games. Seahawks got the Panthers and Niners. That's going to be tough. And then the Niners have the Colts, Bears, and Seahawks. And you would assume that 2 out of those 3 will be tough. So Jason Myers kicks off 61 yards. Jordan Whittington with the muff and a 13-yard return. First down and 10 at the Rams 22. Play action and Puka and a short gain. Yeah, I mean, Marshawn and Russell Wilson are in 2 different categories. Marshawn is very loved, and again, you haven't had a running back since Marshawn and may never have another running back like Marshawn. Marshawn was a one of one, and sometimes that's the type of guy that you need to be able to win a championship. Him and LeGarrette Blount were very good, in that time period when they played. And nice pressure there by Seattle. Stafford with the check down incomplete. Good pressure there by Williams and company. 3rd down and 7 for Matthew Stafford. Finally, the Hawks crowd, the 12s, are getting loud. After that Rashid Shaheed special teams touchdown, there's a little bit of life for Seattle fans. 3rd down and 7, trips left for Los Angeles. Shotgun set, Stafford. Pressured, bootleg, keeping his eyes downfield. Wow! And incomplete. And Kanata Mumfield there with the attempt. And obviously Puka double covered there. And it did hit the turf there. All right, Rams with the punt. And that short wobbly kick gives Seattle great field position for Sam Darnold with 7:09 left, 7:02 left in the 4th quarter. Let's see if Seattle can find a way to get into the end zone and then hit a 2-point conversion, and then we might be able to go to OT. Shows you how important having a good returner at special teams truly is. And that was one of the smarter pickups for the Seahawks that we've seen in quite a few years. It's crazy that Seattle has 3 turnovers, the Rams have 0, and they're only down by 8. Right? Last time that they played, Darnold ended up having 4 picks, and they only lost by 2 points, 21-19. I mean, if there was ever a time to give Kenneth Walker III the football, it's going to get to a point where it's pretty soon. Flag on the play. And finally, we get one creative play call out of the Seattle offense, and it has to come back. Again, you finally get the speedster Rashid Shaheed the ball, but holding is going to bring that one back. And how come we don't get these play calls in the 1st quarter, the 2nd quarter, and the 3rd quarter? Ooh, they call it on the defense. Penalty is decline. Wow. 1st down, Hawks. That's huge. "31-yard run. And again, you got to have better play calling. And this is kind of like a Rams play. And nice to be able to see Seattle, kind of mimic, what the Rams would do and other teams would do in that particular situation. If you got a speedster, give him the ball. Here we go. And again, it would be smart to, sprinkle in a little Shaheed the rest of the way, especially when he's been this productive. He's the reason why you're back in this game. Play action, bootleg, Darnold. He's got a man wide open. Touchdown, Seattle. A.J. Barner, touchdown, Hawks. And just like that, they're back in it. Wow. Beautiful play by Darnold. And again, now a 2-point conversion incoming. What a comeback by Seattle, when it could easily have been over. And great heart. There's a reason why Seattle is 11-3. They might fuck up and make mistakes, but they don't give up. And again, they've only lost games by 4, 3, and 2 this season to the Niners, Buccaneers, and the Rams. So again, they haven't been blown out all year, and it doesn't look like they're going to get blown out here. 2-point conversion incoming after that beautiful 26-yarder to A.J. Barner, who had to use all of his stretch and length to come down with that ball. Great job by A.J. Beautiful. Great heart by Seattle. And again, this is what you want to see, going against the best team in the NFC, in the Rams, so that way that you can feel good about your chances in the playoffs, regardless if you win or lose this game. You want to keep fighting all the way to the end. 2-point conversion, huge right here. Man in motion. Screen pass, tipped, and incomplete. I don't like the play call. Now Hawks are down by 2, but they're still in it. 6:23 left in the fourth, and this is going to come down to the end, baby. Beautiful route there by A.J. Barner. And A.J. made a couple Rams defenders break their ankles. And again, great presence by Darnold to not have, a man in his face for once. The offensive line gave him enough time to be able to find that open man. And again, if we could have had a few more plays like that in the first half, then maybe this game, is tied or Seattle ends up having a lead. And then, again, the battle in Seattle is living up to the billing, where just a few minutes ago, it looked like the Rams were going to win by, double digits. And now Rams only up by 2. And again, hopefully they'll be able to give Rashid Shaheed a few more looks. They're looking at this last play on the 2-point conversion. I'm going to try to say it was like a lateral. So they're going to try to see if that ended up going backwards as a lateral, and then Charbonnet ended up picking up the ball. So if it ends up going in that direction, then the 2-point conversion is going to be good, and it would be 30-30. But we will see if they decide to call it that particular way or not. Obviously, the Rams thought that play was dead as incomplete, so no one picked it up. So that's wild. This would be like the most wild 2-point conversion that was incomplete that turns into a positive 2-point conversion maybe of all time. Again, if that ended up being a lateral and then no Rams player picked up the ball and Charbonnet casually picked it up. Oh, they're going to give it to him. Wow. 2-point conversion is good since that was a lateral. I mean, you can't ask for a more lucky play on fucking planet Earth. And they got it right there. Wow. I don't think we've ever seen a 2-point conversion be a lateral, bounce off a helmet, and then a player casually picks it up. Unbelievable. That's crazy. That's crazy. 2-point conversion overturned in the booth review. I don't think I've ever seen that in the NFL, and I've been watching since 85. And again, Seattle fans are loving it. And just like that, with Rashid Shaheed and company, a game that could have been a 2-touchdown blowout. Now you look at the scoreboard after all those Hawks fans that left and turned the game off. Now the game is tied 30-30. You never give up on your team, and you never turn the TV off until the game is over. And it's going to just bring the rivalry to a whole nother level. You know, we already saw how deep the rivalry got with, the Niners and the Hawks, in previous years. And I feel like this rivalry is going to be on that same level, if not more heated. First down and 10 at the 26, handoff up the middle. And now this is the time where you need Seattle's defense to play big. If you're the Rams, you just need to keep moving the chains and, hopefully bleed off as much clock as possible. And obviously you're trying to get into the end zone. After that second Darnold pick, 3% chance of coming back now at 48%. Seahawks fans love that. 2-yard run by Blake Corum, DeMarcus Lawrence with the tackle. Second down and 8 at the Rams 28. And thank God for the Seahawks to fight and get a little bit lucky as well to make this a game instead of it just being like a 16-point blowout and being 30-16. Pass and complete. Ferguson, no. Parkinson. And Stafford is down. Wobbly getting up. Finally, you're seeing the Seattle defense finally get a little bit of life. Colby Parkinson, the intended tight end. Stafford takes a big fucking shot right to the midsection. Third down and 8 at the Rams 28. Shotgun set, trips right, 4 wide receiver set, screen to Puka. Puka dodges 1, dodges 2, but there's just no room. And 3, 4, and 5 from the Hawk defense come in there, and now it's going to be 4th down. Third straight 3 and out, and that's what we expect out of the Seattle defense. At some time or another for them to get hot, and they finally, get the crowd behind them. And now it's 4th down and 3 at the Rams 33. And you got Rashid Shaheed back there who can make another big play. And in a game that felt like it was completely over, and then it would be the Hawks' first blowout of the year, just like that, in a matter of 5 to 6 minutes, we're tied, and the Hawks have a chance to win. God, football is beautiful, isn't it? And again, Rashid Shaheed, that's one of the biggest pickups, in a long time for Seattle. They haven't really had a guy like Rashid Shaheed in a long time, with punt return and kick return. And again, the Saints, being a Buck fan, I've seen what he can do, as a wide receiver and a punt returner, kick returner, and he definitely is balling out. Evans punts 44 yards, fair caught by Rashid Shaheed. And now it's going to be 1st down and 10 at the Seattle 23. And as long as Darnold doesn't fumble or throw a pick, they're going to have a good chance to be able to win this game, or at least to be able to put points on the board. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. We'll be doing the college football playoff tomorrow with Oklahoma and Alabama. College football playoff on Saturday, JMU and Oregon. Sunday night football, Ravens and Pats. And then Monday will be the Colts and the Niners. And I'm really happy that the Hawks came back. The thing that you want to be able to see on primetime games is close games. And there was a moment there, where it was going to, be ugly. And the Rams were going to end up winning by 14, 15, 16 or more. But again, having a guy like Rashid Shaheed swung the momentum, and beautiful comeback there by Seattle. And remember, Seattle lost the first matchup against the Rams with Darnold's 4 picks. They only lost by 2, 21-19. And obviously both teams have good offense and defense. We're at 30-30. And again, let's see if Seattle can get Kenneth Walker III the ball to make a big play in every quarter. He made a big play in the first, a big play in the second, a big play in the third. And again, not running a, halfback toss to the outside. That's not what you want to do. Using Kenneth Walker III in the passing game, we got to be able to see him get at least a look there. And if they end up doing that, could be the difference. The odds of Kyron Williams getting a touchdown, not very good unless the game goes to overtime. Because obviously Seattle has the ball with 4:47 left. So, it's probably not looking very good. Yeah, I would assume Oklahoma will beat Bama tomorrow, but we'll find out. Shotgun set for Darnold. Play action. Oh. Incomplete. Intended receiver, JSN. Second down and 10 at the Seattle 23. I do believe Bama will play better than they did against Georgia with only 7 points, but I don't know if they're going to be able to beat Oklahoma. But we will find out tomorrow when we're doing the stream. Second down and 10. Trips left. Kenneth Walker III with the screen. I told you got to get him in the open lanes. No blocking whatsoever for him, though. Come on, Seattle. And now you got third down and manageable for the Hawks. And can we get anybody to make a play other than JSN or Kenneth Walker III? Three-yard pass, third down and 7 at the Seattle 26. And we'll see if the Rams end up bringing a blitz. Jimmy Garoppolo, the backup QB there for the Rams, and Matthew Stafford. Trips right, third down and 7. Screen pass to JSN. There's not enough room. Not against that Ram defense, and now it's fourth down. Terrible possession by Seattle based off the play calling. And again, when you have a chance to be able to win the game, you got to be better in the play calls. I mean, I give them a lot of heart and grit to tie this game up 30-30, but gosh, man, play calling. Fourth down and 4 at the Seattle 29, and now Seattle is going to have to punt. You got to pray that you can get a 3 and out on the Rams. You get one last chance. Fourth down and 4. Line drive punt by Seattle. And fair caught at the 19 by the Rams. By Smith. All right, Seattle. If you're going to win this game, sack lunch, a fumble, a punch out, an interception, you have to get to Stafford and you have to bring him down. 323-1 while leading by 15 plus in the fourth quarter. Seahawks are 0-172 by trailing by 15 plus points in the fourth. So this would be their first win out of 172 matchups, being down by 15 in the fourth quarter if they can come back. This is going to be huge. First down and 10. Man in motion, shotgun set. Seahawks bring 4. Stafford, check down. Looks like about a 6-yard gain there. Ernest Jones with the tackle. Matthew Stafford to Davis Allen, the tight end. Second down and 4 at the Rams 26. And how you play this, if you're Mike, for Seattle, are you going to bring the blitz on first and third down? Or are you going to be conservative and kind of, not give the big play over the top? Because if you just let them dink and doink, they're going to move the ball down the field. Second down and 4. And great defense there by the Hawks. Batted down. DeMarcus Lawrence. Looking like vintage DeMarcus from the Cowboys. Big defensive swat. Third down and 4 for Stafford and the Rams. Yeah, I mean, if the Shaheed play doesn't happen, 0% chance of coming back and winning. Third down and 4. Let's see if Seattle brings the blitz. Trips right. Shotgun set. Stafford looking. Floater over the top, wide open. Hit. First down, Rams. And that ball could have came out, but there's a big flag on the play. Ferguson hanging on. And who is the flag on? This might determine who wins or loses here. Wow, what a big hit. What a fucking touch throw by Stafford. And that's what MVPs do. That was a huge fucking hit. I mean, 9 times out of 10, that ball comes out. It sounds like it's going to be some kind of taunting play here. I mean, at least he had a chance to see that hit coming. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness on the defense. I mean, there was a little bit of helmet to helmet there, but I don't think that's a good call. Just let the play continue. I don't think that's a penalty. Unnecessary roughness. I mean, it's borderline, with the helmet to helmet, but they already got a big first down there. I wouldn't have, picked that flag up. Just let them have the yards. They don't need to be able to have the catch and the yards on top of that. 28-yard pass from Stafford to Ferguson, and Terrence Ferguson making the play of the day. All right, Ferg, I see you. And it was a necessary roughness, not taunting, even though the announcers were claiming that might have been. And now we got another flag on the play. I would assume holding on the O-line by the Rams. Yep, bring that one back. Davis Allen, the guilty culprit. First down and 20 at the Seattle 41. And I love the grit and the heart by Seattle. This one could have easily been over, and obviously this rivalry means something. And again, to me, the Rams are the best team in the NFC. So if you can hang with the best team, even though they have the same record, 11-3, this would be a big payback game, but the defense needs to come up big here late. First down and 20, Stafford with a little check down. Parkinson there with the catch. Puka and the Seattle DBs jawing it up, talking shit. Imanori trying to talk to Puka. I'm not sure if that would be the person that you would want to be talking shit to. I mean, we know Imanori could end up being one of the, new Legion of Boom type of guys that they're trying to build. But, I'm not sure if Puka is the guy that you want to be jawing at. The last thing that Seattle needs is to get their best player fired up on offense. All right, here we go. Second down and 15 with 2:20 to go. Stafford hands off to Kyron Williams. Good blocking up front. And looks like they get about half of the yardage there. And timeout, Seattle. What a game. 7-yard run. Third down and 8 at the Seattle 29. And if they can hold the Rams to a field goal, it's very, plausible, that Jason Myers could kick a field goal and it goes 33-33 and we go to OT and then anything can happen. But if the Rams end up getting a touchdown on this drive, that might be the difference in this game. Not to say that Darnold can't drive the field down and get a touchdown as well, but based on the flow of the game and how things have gone, it would be very tough. Audible at the line for Stafford. Seattle showing blitz. Shotgun set for Stafford. 3 wide receiver set. They bring the blitz. Floater and complete. And that was a great defensive play there by Seattle. And now it's going to be 4th down and 8. Shit, I'll take McVay on Tampa. That's my number one choice. If I could choose any coach in the NFL, McVay would be my one. And Stafford to Mumpfield incomplete. 4th down and 8. And we'll see if Mevis, who's 8 for 8, In his 7th career game can go 9 for 9. He's 3 for 3. Kick is up. And right down the middle is no good. No good. Fade right late. I thought it was going in. And his first career miss. Seattle has a chance to win with a Jason Myers field goal. Wow. Unbelievable. And Seattle's going to have a chance to get payback. Harrison Mevis, 8 for 8. And it looked like it was going to go. And then it faded right. Wow. Unbelievable. And now Seattle can win with just a field goal. Now the Rams defense will have to change their strategy on how often they blitz to try to come up with a big pick or fumble. But now Seattle is cooking. And again, momentum, again, when things look over, sometimes it's not, and again, we'll see if Darnold can just let the game come to him and not force it. 30-30, 2:07 left. You can win with a field goal. Remember, in week 11, Darnold threw 4 picks. They lost 21-19. They're looking for payback. Charbonnet and short game. And now it's the 2-minute warning. Wow. Second down and 8 at the Seattle 40. Defense wins games. Defense wins championships. And again, for a game that looked like it was going to be Seattle's first blowout of the year, Rashid Shaheed says, hey, don't lose hope just yet. Got that, got the 2-point conversion, and then Darnold to A.J. Barner. Momentum is a motherfucker in sports, isn't it? When it looks like it's completely over, and then all of a sudden, you get a little bit of luck, even with a 2-point conversion with Charbonnet there. I don't think I've ever seen that ever in football, but, again, when it rains, it pours when things are going bad, but Uncle Mo will show up when things are really good, and momentum is a motherfucker. And again, the battle in Seattle has lived up to being the best Thursday night football game in 2025 and maybe ever. Beautiful game, man. And sometimes it ends up being unexpected heroes like Rashid Shaheed. And again, if you didn't get him, from the Saints, we're probably not talking about the Hawks having a chance to win at this point in the 2-minute drill. Well, every Seahawks fan and every NFL fan thought it was over, it's pretty rare to come up with all these positive things and then the Rams didn't score when all these Rams, issues were happening and Seattle was taking advantage of the momentum. It's not often that the Seahawks are going to score 16 fucking straight and get two-point conversions to convert. Uh-oh, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is? A Ram sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And just when you think Seattle is going to win it, Kobe Turner says, not so fast. And now 2nd down and 8 turns in 3rd and a billion. Yeah, Rashid Shaheed has always had the speed, and he's a guy that you can go with a deep threat, at wide receiver as well, who could score tutties. And now that's going to turn into 3rd down and 17 at the Seattle 31. And now a little bit of life and glimmer of hope is starting to fade slightly. You still can end up getting a 1st down, to JSN or one of the, offensive weapons, but it's going to be that much harder now, with the Rams knowing more than likely you're going to pass. Shotgun set on 3rd down and 17. Darnold, 3 wide receiver set. He's got pressure. And batted down. Wow. Uh-oh. And now it's going to be 4th down and 17, and you give the Rams another shot to win the game. And it kind of felt like if Seattle was going to score on that drive, that was it. And you don't score there, it might be over now. But again, Mevis did miss the last kick. So again, if it does get into field goal range for the Rams, there's no guarantee that Mevis will make the kick. So... And again, defense wins games, defense wins championships. Both defenses stepping up. And now low snap. And Seattle with the punt. Bear caught at the 11 or 12. And a great special teams kick there by Seattle. I mean, best case scenario for Seattle at this point, you get a pick six and you win the game, or a fumble for a touchdown, or you win the game, or you hold the Rams to no points, you go to overtime and you win then. I mean, it's not over yet. But again, defense wins games, defense wins championships. Can they get to Stafford and make him uncomfortable? And can they make the big play to give the Seattle fans, the 12s, the victory? They need defense. Can we get it? Let's find out. Seattle defense versus potentially the MVP on offense in 2025. Check down. Good D. Incomplete. And again, blitzing is going to be a factor here late by both teams. Leonard Williams and DeMarcus Lawrence are hungry. Second down and 10 at the Rams 12. Great heart by Seattle. There's a reason why Seattle's 11-3 this year. Improved offensive line, improved defense. Second down and 10. Stafford going deep. He's got a man. Oh my God, Puka. First down, Rams. And that's what Puka Nacua does. Move the chains. Oh my. That might have just ripped the heart out of Hawk fans there slightly. Uh-oh. And one-on-one with Witherspoon, that's an advantage for Puka all day, all night. Great hands, great route. First down, Ramley. Shotgun set on first down and 10. Late blitz by Seattle, and he throws it away. And after that 27-yard pass from Stafford to Puka, incomplete. Wanted to avoid the sack lunch. Second down and 10, the intended tight end, Colby Parkinson. Yeah, Puka's one of the best receivers in the game. There's no doubt about that. But Seattle is still in it. It's still 30-30. Last time I checked, still time to prove yourself and make a big play on the MVP, Matthew Stafford. Second down and 10, pump fake. Did he catch it? And it looks like they're going to give him the catch, but we have a Hawk down. And Mumfield with the catch, but we got a Hawk down. I hope he's okay. I mean, he tried to get up, but he couldn't. And guess who the injured culprit is? The person that was chirping at Puka. Worry. And that's why you don't chirp, right? Karma is a bitch. You know, you just gotta, there's certain times to chirp and there's certain times to not. But I hope he's okay though. But it's kind of funny how karma, ends up doing that, like, you want to be, a dog out there and you want to, show them that you're not afraid, but you got to pick and choose your battles. And then sometimes the sports gods, end up punishing you, for maybe talking a little bit too much. Play with your game, not with your mouth. And he gets up, but I don't know if he's going to return. And I do like Worry. I think that was a great draft pick, just like the Zabel draft pick on the O-line. But again, Puka's probably the last guy on planet Earth that you'd want to be talking shit to. And we got 53 seconds left. 30-30 tie. Hawks coming back down by 16, getting touchdowns and 2 two-point conversions. Third down and 1 at the Rams 48. And now it turns into what? They gave it to him first down and 10? All right, they gave it to him, huh? I was going to say, it looked like it was pretty close. Shouldn't we gotten a review on that spot to make sure, that it was first down and not 3rd and inches or 3rd and 1? All right, now first down and 10, play clock starting to roll. 4 wide receiver set with 1 running back there with Matthew Stafford. First down and 10. Shotgun set. Seahawks bring 4. Stafford, pump fake, and just out of reach. Mumfield, the intended target there. Second down and 10 for Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. Second down and 10. 3 wide receiver set. Hawks bringing 4. Throw to the sideline and complete. Parkinson, the intended tight end. And again, when you're going to Mumfield and Parkinson, it's not really ideal. It's much better to be able to go to Puka and like Devontae Adams, or even someone that's more of a name like Tutu Atwell, if he's healthy. So they're having to rely on some of these like lower end guys. But at some point, someone's got to step up, and it's third down and 10. So you assume this is going to Puka. Even if he's double covered, we know Puka can come up with a big play. Third down and 10. And Puka, incomplete. Great defense there by the Hawks. And now fourth down and 10. And now the Rams are going to punt. God, every time it kind of felt like the game was over, the offenses have stalled for both teams. It's like, it kind of came down to whoever had the ball last is going to win the game, and that looks like it might be the case. Obviously, it wasn't the case early in the fourth quarter when the Rams were up by 16 and the Hawks needed 2 touchdowns and two-point conversions, but, sports is a crazy thing, and momentum is a motherfucker, and Uncle Mo is real, and the Hawks have the momentum. Defense has played very, very well in the fourth quarter for Seattle, and fair caught by Rashid Shaheed, and now we need the Hawks to get into field goal range to win this game 33-30. And again, if the Hawks are going to win this, the offensive line needs to block like Rentis do. And again, if they can give Sam enough time, that could be the difference to be able to get into field goal range for Jason Myers, who had a field goal party last week against the Colts, 6 for 6. Shotgun set, Darnold, pressure off the edge, check down. First down, Hawks, move the chains. Tick, 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 tick. Hurry, Sam, hurry. Hurry, Sam. And he had the Rams try to dive for that football after the clock to spike there. Uh-oh. Emin is going to the locker room. Next time, don't chirp at Puka, and then the sports gods won't punish you with an injury. All right, here we go. Second down and 10. Come on, offensive line. Block like a motherfucker, like Rentis do. Darnold, avoids a sack and goes down. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Poona Ford, Jared Verse, Young, and company. It's like every time we feel like someone's going to take advantage, the defense comes up big. And now second and 10 turns into third and a billion. Third and 18 at the Seattle 20. And again, you don't want to throw some arid pass that gets picked and then the game is over. I mean, if you end up going deep, essentially it would be a punt, if it ended up getting picked. But, you might get a PI and you might end up getting JSN with a big catch. But that's going to be end of regulation, and we're going to go to overtime. Yeah. But again, if it wasn't for Rashid Shaheed, we're not even talking about the Seattle Seahawks or the game still, continuing. So really, you got to give Shaheed a lot of love. We already know what it is to get a kick return or a punt for a touchdown in this league, in 2025 especially. So kudos to him for swinging the momentum in Seattle's favor, and they haven't looked back. And, would you feel that momentum based on what happened with Seattle in the fourth quarter, that, overtime favors Seattle at home? We'll find out. Fantastic game. The battle in Seattle is living up to, the best Thursday night game of 2025. There's no doubt about that. And it might end up being the best, battle in Seattle that we've seen in a long time. The only thing that I want to ask for, no fucking ties, please. I don't need to see some bullshit with 11, 3, and 1. I don't want to see that third column. We need to see a winner and a loser. No ties. We're going to take the ball. We're going to be like Hasselbeck, huh? All right, baby. Overtime, baby. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. And again, let's get a quick breakdown of the game and how it all came about. How the hell we're in overtime. So Zach Charbonnet with a 4-yard rush after a big Kenneth Walker, the third big run in the first quarter. 7-0 Hawks with that Charbonnet touchdown. Then we had Harrison Mevis, obviously with a field goal that got them on the board, making it 7-3. And let me go back here. It actually went off the screen, so give me 1 sec to go back to it. I clicked on it, and then it clicked on another category. All right, so let's go back to the game situation itself. After the Mevis 23-yard field goal in the first quarter, it was 7-3. Then in the second quarter, Mevis again with a 28-yarder, making it 7-6 Seattle. So we felt, okay, when is Stafford going to get cooking? And then Ferguson with a 3-yard TD pass from Stafford, 13-7, the first Ram lead in the second quarter. Then Kenneth Walker III with a big 55-yard rushing touchdown. Myers with the extra point and good, 14-13 Hawks. Then Mevis with a 41-yard field goal in the third quarter, 16-14 Rams. Blake Corum with a 1-yard rush, 23-14 Ramley, right? And then Puka with a 1-yard touchdown pass, making it 30-14, and it felt like it was going to be over. And then you had Shaheed with a 58-yard punt return for a touchdown. 2-point conversion is good. And then an A.J. Barner, catch 26 yards and another 2-point conversion, which ended up being a wild play that was a lateral, bounced off a helmet, and then Charbonnet just picked it up in the end zone nonchalantly. And then that's where we're sitting right now with a 30-30 tie. Holding there on the rookie, Dolak. And we have 9:52 left here for the Hawks and the Rams. Offensive holding. After that, Myers 58-yard kick. Let's see what Matthew Stafford can do here in overtime. Under center, Stafford, throw to the sideline, caught. And great effort by Puka Nacua, making a 5-yard gain turn into close to a first down. Punt, missed field goal, punt. Last 5 possessions for the Rams, nothing, because the Seahawks defense has stepped up. And again, nice catch there by Puka, 9-yard pass. Love with the tackle. 2nd down and 1 at the Rams 29. And if you got Puka in fantasy, you're loving what he's doing. Play action, bootleg, plenty of time. Goes back to the opposite side of the field, wide open. And Blake Corum, the intended running back. 1st down, Rams. Move the chains. Fantastic game. One of the best that we've seen in 2025. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. 13-yard pass from Stafford to Corum. Thomas with the tackle. 1st down and 10 at the Rams 42. 8:45 and counting for the Rams and the Hawks. Stafford under center, play action. Good protection up front. Avoids a sack lunch. Stafford got a man wide open. Overthrows it. Incomplete. Good sidestepping there by Stafford. Seattle missing out on an opportunity on a sack lunch. And now it's 2nd down and 10 for Matthew Stafford. Terrence Ferguson, the intended tight end, off that incomplete pass. Hawk fans taking off their shirt, getting crazy out there in the 12s. Shotgun set for Stafford on 2nd and 10. Got plenty of time. He's going deep. He's got a man. Intercepted and dropped. Oh, my. What happened to my hands? Why? But there's a flag on the play. We'll see who this is on. Illegal contact on the defense. It wouldn't have counted even if it was picked. Ouch. 1st down, Rams. Move the chains. And Ernest Jones with the illegal contact. Damn. Let's watch the replay to see if Ernest actually did anything. Jesus Christ, that's the penalty? Jesus Christ, terrible. A little tap to the shoulders and 5-yard penalty. 1st down and 10 at the Rams 47. That's brutal. Very tit for tat. And a run up the middle. Short game. Blake Corum from Michigan with the carry. Him and Worry with the concussion. And Kobe Bryant injured earlier in the game as well. 2nd down and 6 for the 12s at the Seattle 49. Can you get to Stafford? Get pressure. Stafford, check down, tipped, intercepted. Or did he drop it? Ernest Jones is there after the penalty. Did he pick it, though? Looked like he did. Nice. And after, making a penalty, coming up with a big interception. I need to see a replay. And Corum, you can't tip it in the air like that. And now Seattle is cooking with a chance with Jason Myers to kick a field goal to win this game. Let's look to see if it hits the ground or not. His hands are underneath. I mean, it looks like a pick. Let's look at this angle. Side angle. Uh-oh, that's going to be incomplete. That's going to be incomplete. Shit. Seattle. Ernest. He has his hands underneath it, but the tip of the football is exposed, and it does move. Damn it. Blake Corum gets lucked out, and that's going to get overturned, I assume. So close by Ernest Jones, the 4th. After having that tit-for-tat penalty with a tap on the shoulders, kind of a weak-ass penalty that shouldn't have even really been called, but I get it. And incomplete. Damn it! Damn it! So close by Ernest. And Blake Corum gets bailed out. And now that turns into 3rd down and 6 for the Rams. God, this game is just back and forth, back and forth. I can only imagine, if you're a Ram fan or a Hawk fan right now. I mean, I kind of feel like, I'm both, watching this game. Just back and forth, can kind of feel the emotions, just coming out here. Call overturned by the booth. One of the best Thursday night games in 2025. The battle in Seattle is living up to the fucking billing, especially with the Hawks coming back from a 16-point deficit in the 4th quarter. Crazy. 3rd down and 6, Stafford. Seattle bringing a blitz off the corner. He gets hit and popped and caught. 1st down, Puka Nacua. Move the chains. Flag on the play, and we'll see if this ends up being a late hit on Stafford. Offsides, defense, penalty. Penalty is declined. 1st down, Puka. Move the chains. You got to stop gambling, Judah. a gambling hotline. Got to stop gambling. 7-yard pass from Stafford to Puka. Thinking about all the things you could have bought without gambling. Handoff up the middle. And good defensive stop there by Seattle. One-yard run by Kyron Williams. Byron Murphy the second with the tackle. 2nd down and 9 at the Seattle 41. How much money do you think you've bet in 2025? Have you bet over $2,000? It's got to be in like the $1,000 to $2,000 range. Play action. Stafford. Got a man. Puka. Uh-oh. Game over. Wow. Puka with the tutty. A lot of pressure now on Seattle. And you knew Puka was eventually going to, get open. And that's why you don't chirp at Puka Nacua ever. Stafford, great play action, perfect protection, and you get Puka in motion. 41-yard touchdown pass. And if you got Puka in fantasy, you're living your best life. Mevis with the extra point. Kick is up. And good. 37-30. Rams. All right, Seattle. Think of all the things you could have bought, the places you could have gone, though, without the betting. The investments you could have made. $3,000 in the last 5 years, bro, that's a lot. I mean, imagine if you had $3,000 in Bitcoin or $3,000 in a stock. All right, we'll see if Seahawks can respond with a touchdown. I mean, anytime you get a touchdown in overtime, it's hard to be able to match a touchdown. Hence the game over. But they still have 6:27 left. We will see. Evans with a 65-yard kick. 1st down and 10 at the Seattle 35. All right, Seattle, time for JSN or Rashid Shaheed or someone to step up here for Seattle. First down and 10, Darnold. And they give Kenneth Walker III an opportunity. Bounces it to the outside, but not a whole lot of room there. Minimal gain. 4-yard run by Kenneth Walker III. Emmanuel Forbes Jr. with the tackle. 2nd down and 6 at the Seattle 39. All right, let's see if Seattle's offensive coordinator can come up with a similar play call like Sean McVay for the Rams and Stafford here with Darnold. Darnold under center on 2nd down and 6. Play action. Pressure coming off the edge. Darnold avoiding it. Throw to the sideline. JSN is there. Did he get both feet down? First down, Hawks. Move the chains. Nice catch there by JSN. Let's take a look at the replay here. Make sure he gets both feet down. Little toe drag swag. Nice job by JSN there. Jackson Smith-Njigba. Darnold, play action to Charbonnet, pressure off the edge, and Darnold just has to throw it away. Second down and 10 at the Rams 44. Cool kid in the building. What's good? .5:13 left in overtime. 37-30 Rams. Seattle needs to be very efficient here. Shotgun set for Darnold. Incomplete. And flag comes out as JSN pleads his case. Pass interference by Forbes. Automatic first down. That's exactly what Seattle needed there. Good call by the officials. Defensive pass interference there on Emmanuel Forbes Jr. First down and 10 at the Rams 39. All right, Seattle, keep it moving. Darnold under center, hands off to Kenneth Walker III. Oh! Up and under. Big tackle on Kenneth. And a minimal gain. Thank God he didn't fumble there. Two-yard run there by Kenneth Walker III. Kobe Durant with the tackle. Second down and 8 at the Rams 37. Second down and 8. Shotgun set for Darnold. Snap is low. They rush 4. He gets hit from the back. Cooper Kupp with the big catch. We need to see if he got both feet down, but a hell of an effort by Cooper Kupp there against his former team. Look at the extension by Cooper. One. Beautiful catch by Cooper Kupp, making up for that fumble in the first half, even though the Rams didn't score off of it. Huge by Cooper. 21-yard pass. Darnold looking, check down. And Charbonnet with a short gain. Great job by Cooper Kupp on the previous play there. Second down and 8 at the Rams 14 after that 2-yard pass to Zach Charbonnet. Man in motion. Darnold, play action, rolling to his right, looking for a target. And Barner, who had the touchdown earlier in the game with a nice catch. And now third down and manageable for Sam Darnold and the Hawks. Third down and 3 at the Rams 9. Come on, Seattle. Keep grinding. Keep fighting. I mean, the Rams are a very tough team. Get the payback from the loss earlier today, or earlier in the season. And a nice run there out the middle. First down, Hawks. Got to get a rematch from that payback from Week 11. The 21-19 loss with the 4 picks by Darnold in that game. First and goal. After that 5-yard run there by Zach Charbonnet. First and goal at the Rams 4. Come on, Hawks. I know nobody as a Hawk fan wants a tie, but a tie is better than a loss, though. I mean, it kind of looks ugly, having 3 columns, but it's better than a straight up loss, I guess, right? Timeout, Rams. mean, especially if the Hawks get the touchdown and go for the 2-point conversion and they get it and they win, you know, then everyone in the Pacific Northwest will be partying. First and goal, 37-30 Rams. 11-3 versus 11-3. 5-2 on the road for the Rams, 5-2 at home for Seattle. Seattle's only losses to the Niners, the Buccaneers, and the Rams by 4, 3, and 2. First and goal, Darnold under center. Play action. He's open. Touchdown, JSN. And here we go. 2-point conversion incoming for Seattle. Beautiful drive, beautiful play calling. And let's see if they can get the 2-point conversion for the victory here. And they are going to be going for 2. Because a tie does them no good in the scenario with the Rams. Obviously, they would still be the, you know, the one-on-one matchup earlier in the year with the Rams winning by, you know, 2 points. All right, come on, Sam. Come on, Hawks. And timeout, Rams. What a game. I mean, you know, for the Rams being up, you know, 30-14, and then the Seahawks scoring 2 touchdowns, getting 2 2-point conversions, that doesn't happen. You know, it's one thing to get 1 2-point conversion, but get 2 in the fourth quarter. I mean, pretty wild. But the battle in Seattle is living up to its name. No doubt about that. As long as the offensive line gives Sam fucking time, there's a chance that they can win this game. But again, if the offensive line, you know, gets roughed up by, you know, one of the guys like Jared Verse, then we know what's going to happen. So hopefully they'll have enough time to be able to, you know, have a chance on getting this 2-point conversion victory, especially since the Rams won the first time around. Man in motion. And timeout, Seattle. Oh, gosh. This is like gut-wrenching, huh? This feels like a playoff game. I mean, imagine if this is what we get in the NFC Championship game. I mean, NFL fans are in for a treat. And do the Rams blitz? That's the question. All right, battle in Seattle coming down to this 2-point conversion in overtime. Can Sam Darnold fight the demons of seeing ghosts early in his career and finding a way to beat the Rams after the Rams beat Seattle in Week 11, 21-19? Come on, Sam. Show me. Trips right. Shotgun set with one running back in the backfield with Darnold. Snap is good. Darnold looking, and he caught it. They win. Hawks win. Woo, baby. Unbelievable. And they do it. Unbelievable. The 2-point conversion 3 times it took for Seattle to win the game. And now the Hawks improve to 12-3. The Rams go to 11-4, and they get payback off Darnold's 4-interception game and get a victory. This is one of the best comebacks that we've ever seen in Seattle history. They have never come back down 15 plus in the fourth quarter. This will be the first time out of 173 games that they've come back from down 15 plus and won in the fourth quarter. Wow, that was awesome. Hawks, final score, Hawks 38, Rams 37. Amazing, man. Wow. That's awesome. And good for them. You know, after having the 4-interception game earlier in the year, you know, they've only lost by 4, 3, and 2. 4 to the Niners, 3 to the Buccaneers, 2 to the Rams in Week 11. They've never been blown out. And even though they were down by 16 and had to have 3 2-point conversion to be successful to win, they did it. What a statement win for the Seattle Seahawks. Huge. What a game. And now for all the shit talking for Sam Darnold and the shit talking for Seattle, now that can kind of come to an end. Awesome. And again, we don't really know what's going to happen, in the NFC. Who's going to win the NFC? Seattle? The Rams? Could it be the Eagles or someone else? Nobody knows. And that's what makes it very exciting this year. We got a lot of teams that are playing really good ball in December. And wow, incredible. And it's hard enough to get 1 2-point conversion, but to get 3, man, I'm at a loss for words. But again, one of the best games of the year, period. The battle in Seattle living up to its name. Huge. And now the series is tied up 1-1 like it should be. And again, even though Seattle might be, a year early, they're definitely one of the best teams in the NFC with the Rams. And don't be shocked if we see these two teams in the NFC Championship game, or if we see one of these teams, in the Super Bowl. It definitely is possible. Wow. And again, for all the haters of Sam Darnold, now you can finally give him a pat on the back, and again, we know Sam has been good and at some points, has got exposed, like in the game against the Rams with the 4 picks, but he gets revenge, and revenge is sweet, especially in overtime. Wow. Awesome. Well, I love you guys and I appreciate you guys very much. Final score in overtime, 38-37. Hawks with the victory. And tomorrow we're going to do the college football playoff. We'll be doing Alabama and Oklahoma. Saturday we'll do JMU and Oregon. Sunday we'll do the Ravens and the Patriots for Sunday Night Football. Monday will be the Colts and the Niners. And again, what a fantastic game. Love you guys and I appreciate you guys very much. And I got one question for you. Who talk sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Congratulations, 12s and the Hawk fans. Shout out to Reflect, Sarah, Jolly, Captain, and as well as JT. Appreciate you guys, TJ, helping out as you always do. And Hawk fans, enjoy this one. That was incredible. 3 2-point conversions. Get the fuck out of here. Incredible. Final score, 38-37 in OT. Hawks win. Seahawks. And I am out. Gang.